Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are live. I got to tell you this. I got a jam-packed show on tap for everybody here. We're going to talk about Mike Vrabel because there's a report going on around the silver and black that this team could potentially bring in Vrabel this offseason to replace Antonio Pierce. I'm going to get into the latest and why that this is a report that does need to be taken very, very seriously. Also, there's a lot of smoke around a secret OC candidate. I talked about it a little bit briefly on the show that was released either today or yesterday. I don't quite remember which one it was. I think it was the video that I released bright and early this morning. I'm going to take a little bit more of a deeper dive into that secret OC candidate. Then I'm going to do a show around Brock Bowers, at least deserving to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. I understand that he's not a quarterback, but when you really look at the numbers, and we're going to do a little bit of blind comparison here, you're going to see that, yeah, Brock Bowers does deserve to be in the conversation for at least Rookie of the Year, if at least, maybe if he was on a better team. We're going to do also answering a lot of questions here on today's episode, so make sure that you're using hashtag Raiders. Make sure that you're getting those super chats in and get those questions, comments on the show. If you had to right now pick a head coach for next season, I'm talking right now, put your money where your mouth is. Would you rather have Mike Vrabel or would you rather have Antonio Pierce? Because based on everything that I've heard, based on everything that is being reported, it is between these two guys right here. Nobody else. We were talking a lot about Ben Johnson. That one ain't happening. Even if, from what I understand, even if the Raiders have the #1 overall pick, it's not going to happen. Ben Johnson's not going to come to Las Vegas. So, Mike Vrabel, Antonio Pierce. Who would it be if you had to pick one? You're either going to keep AP or you're going to go to Vrabel. I see MV from Raider Nation 80. Scott Smith's going to go with AP. Eric Walton says Vrabel. I see Mark Gonzalez says Vrabel. Vic says Vrabel. BMD Network's going with AP. Neither from Short Dog. What's up, man? Adam Rose. But MV brought his team to 3 playoff spots. Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year in 2021. Regan's going to go with MV. I would say right now, if I had to look at the votes, most of these are for Vrabel. Huber said bring in Bill Belichick. Not going to be an option. So I'm not kidding you. It's literally between just these two guys. Raz, what does it matter? It matters because you got to be able to find a good head coach to be able to build something going forward. I see Mark Douglas saying MV. John B., let's be a little bit reasonable here. P. Daddy wants to go with Mike Vrabel. As you can see, it's very, very split. And coming up here to the 500 people that are tuned in right now to the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you this. Why the reports around Vrabel are to be considered serious. And it's not necessarily Mark Davis pulling the strings. It's somebody else inside of the organization that wants Mike Vrabel. But for the OG Raiders Report watchers out there, we've been talking about Mike Vrabel for 10 months at this point. And I've already done a lot of videos around Vrabel potentially taking over. So I know this is going to be maybe some new information for some people. It might be a little bit of a reiterated thing that we've said a few times on this show. But we are going to talk about Mike Vrabel potentially being the Raiders' next head coach because there are some legs to these rumors here. What's up, Chugs?
I'm doing pretty good right now, and I'm excited to talk about some of these head coaching rumors because it's been a lot in the works. I know
spicy show.
A lot of people are like, oh, the Raiders, they're losing. There's nothing going on around the team. I think what happens in the next 2 months around this organization in the background is going to shape this organization immensely over the next couple seasons.
It has to. I'm going to say, I know we got 7 games left here for the Silver and Black, but these next 7 games, and January especially, could really shape the way that this Raiders franchise operates and moves forward, because if you look at some of the hires that the Raiders could do in January, we'll talk about one of those today. If they go out and they hire a certain somebody, whether it be a head coach, whether it be an OC, I think it's going to tell you a lot of what their plans are going forward.
And the problem with everybody says Mark Davis doesn't care about the team. Mark Davis only cares about money. The thing is, when you look at the 2 teams in Los Angeles, you know what the biggest problem with them is, Mitch? There's too much to do there. Okay. And with the Raiders in Las Vegas, you know what's about to come? Baseball. Baseball is about to come. Basketball is probably on its way soon after that.
There will be an NBA team in the next 10 years.
The Raiders are going to be starting to compete with other sports franchises for viewership in Las Vegas. So if the Raiders can't turn it around, you've already seen the effect of not having Raiders fans at the stadium, not having the stadium packed with Raiders fans. I think Mark Davis is starting to get very worried about the next couple seasons, especially with the new teams coming to Las Vegas. There's already a ton to do in Las Vegas.
The easiest way to solve these problems, though, is this: winning. And until the Raiders start, here's the thing. If you're not winning and you're charging the amount of prices, I mean, you and I were just talking about it the other day. That guy that went to Allegiant Stadium at the UNLV game, he got a pizza and wings, and it was $630. That's ludicrous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. You can't have those type of prices. You can't have those type of Las Vegas prices unless the product on the field is a good one.
I mean, that dude must have gotten $50 instantly when he played $5 on Prize Picks, because if you're throwing around that kind of money, you must be winning some money with the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America over at Prize Picks. That's all I got to say.
I love a good pizza pie. I love some wings at a game. For that price tag, I don't like it. Luckily, we got a better price tag here. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. Guess what? It's guaranteed. PrizePicks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks.
Run your game.
So you know what, Chugs? We were looking for PrizePicks today, and I'll be real with all y'all. Weren't finding too much around the Raiders. So sometimes when that happens, we got to mix it up here a little bit. I'm not an NBA guy, and I'm not going to act like I am an NBA guy. However, though, one of the best parts about Tuesday, we always talk about it, is the picks. The Tuesday picks.
Taco Tuesday.
And if you're going to go Taco Tuesday, you got to throw in LeBron.
Yeah. Taco Tuesday.
So Chugs told me to go LeBron James, 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists. The more on that. And then Jason Tatum, as you can see, the Taco Tuesday deal, which is 25% off, 22.5 points. Give me the more on Tatum.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot. And bottom line, if you're watching, basketball, if you're watching MMA, if you're watching football, whatever you're doing, if you're planning on taking time out of your day to watch that event, I promise you, if you put 5, you put 10, you're going to be so much more locked into that experience. And even if it doesn't hit, you're going to be so much more invested that you're going to have such a better time where it's never really like money lost.
Speaking of locked in, you know who's been locked in this year?
Dude, this
Brock
guy.
Bowers.
Brock Bowers deserves to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. And I know that might sound like a crazy, outlandish thing to say because he is a tight end. And a tight end has never won the NFL Rookie of the Year. But I'm going to show you stats today that are going to change your mind. I have a lot of numbers. And by the end of today's show, you're going to go, Mitchie, you sneaky SOB.
You son of a bitch.
I'm in. Should Brock Bowers be in the running for Rookie of the Year? Give me a yes. Give me a no. What do y'all think? Something in my face says no chance for Rookie of the Year. I hear you, and I know that Brock probably doesn't have a chance either.
Something on my face.
1, he plays tight end. 2, the Raiders are losing. But still, if it's hear me out, if it is a numbers-based award, which I think Rookie of the Year is more of a stats-based award.
Really good movie.
Rookie of the Year, phenomenal rookie. Though they do beat the Mets in that movie. The numbers that Brock Bowers is putting up right now, if it is a numbers-based award, he should be the front runner in this. I get it, he don't play the quarterback position. I get it that his team's not winning. But I saw Garrett Wilson in 2022 was last place on his team in their division, and he still won it at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
And Brock Bowers' numbers are just light years ahead of what Garrett Wilson did in 2022.
Yeah.
It ain't close.
And this isn't us saying that he's going to win or he should win.
I just wanted to be in the conversation.
Yeah. He should, kind of like the Heisman voting.
Sure.
Maybe he doesn't win, but he should be there at the ceremony, you know?
Yeah. Though I hated when they did that with Stetson Bennett. So I was like, this guy sucks. Why is he there?
Yeah.
What up, P Daddy 71? Will Mike Vrabel prefers Sanders or Ward? I really like this question a lot, and to answer this one, I don't know what Mike Vrabel would personally rather. To me, I think Cam Ward is the better quarterback out of the two, but Mike Vrabel's going to get hired if Tom Brady wants Mike Vrabel to get hired. And if Tom Brady's the one pulling the strings, then it's going to be Shedeur Sanders. I'm telling y'all right now, if the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick, it's going to be Shedeur. Why? Tom Brady wants to work with Shedeur Sanders because they've been working together for a long time. So I don't even know if it would be so much a Mike Vrabel decision, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit today. I talked about it a little bit on the show earlier today where the new head coach, if a new head coach comes in, they got to be willing to take a little bit of a backseat to Tom Brady, which is why Ben Johnson's never going to be the Raiders head coach because he's not going to do it. Let's go to Dylan Erickson. What's up, man? I feel that everything we hoped AP could be, Mike Vrabel already is. So why not hire the proven head coach? AP has shown he isn't it, at least not yet. Well, there's multiple reasons here.
Mitch, do you think that they could just demote AP to the linebacker coach and then hire Mike Vrabel?
Probably not. That one's probably not going to happen. Also, money, right? Mark Davis had to fire John Gruden and lost out on all that money. Josh McDaniels fired him, lost out on all that money. And now you're potentially going to have to move on from Antonio Pierce, and you're going to be out whatever the money that is for AP. So that is a factor into this. I think the other factor is, what do Deion and what Shedeur potentially want? That's going to be a factor into this. I think it's also what some of the players could potentially want, what some investors want, what Mark Davis wants, what Tom Brady is saying in the era of Mark. Like, there's going to be a lot of different things, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. Like, everything that I wanted Antonio Pierce to be as a head coach, Mike Vrabel kind of is that dude. He is that dude. He's got a better resume. But then also on the other side of the coin is we've seen other head coaches struggle in year one, and you got to give AP credit of if he would have got the quarterback and OC that he wanted, it would have worked out really, really well. And the show that I put out earlier today, Dylan, was I heard from a source that Antonio Pierce has, quote, convinced the right people that he can get the job done if he gets his quarterback, if he gets the right offensive coordinator. AP's kind of been saying behind closed doors that, well, I was unable to get Cliff because we knew we couldn't get Jaden, and because of that, I was forced to go with Gardner Minshew and Luke Getsy.
Could you imagine if the right people was like Gorilla-Rilla? It was like everything.
I hope it is Gorilla-Rilla.
Everything ran through Gorilla-Rilla.
I've met Gorilla-Rilla multiple times in person. He's always one of the nicest dudes ever.
It's like Vrabel walks into the room, the chair's backwards, it turns around, and it's just him in the Gorilla-Rilla costume.
Yeah, that would be wild. Him, Violator, and then just Chugs, just all sitting back there.
And then Power Raider.
Go Power Raider? I'm in, dude. I'll tell you what. It's probably those three would be better at pulling strings and making a lot of shots than what a lot of the people inside of the Raiders organization have done. But Mike Vrabel is a good head coach. Like, he is. If you ask me, is Mike Vrabel a top 32 head coach in the NFL? I know he's not a head coach right now. I would say that he's top 16, right? Like, there is not 16 other coaches that are head coaches right now in the NFL that I think are better than Mike Vrabel, in my opinion. And that's just what I'm saying here. We'll talk about it a little bit coming up here on today's show. Let's go to Rich. What's up, man? You draft Shedeur, head coach Ben or Vrabel. Again, it's not going to be Ben Johnson. I'm just telling y'all, get Ben Johnson's name out. It will not happen. You got $110 million in cap. Sign T. Higgins and Godwin. It won't be both. Running back will be Aaron Jones. Got money for the O-line. Is this good GM work? Mitch, just tank, baby. I'll be real. I don't like this plan that you're putting in place simply because you're going to have to give T. Higgins $27 million. You're probably going to have to give Chris Godwin a heavy paycheck as well. If you wanted to do one of these moves, I'm okay with it. T. Higgins would be the one that I personally would pick. I'm not in the camp of that we need to go out and sign a running back. I think bad football teams or teams that are a running back away from competing right away will go out and sign a running back. The Raiders aren't in that situation. Even if you get a Shedeur Sanders, even if you get a Cam Ward, you can draft a running back, right? Like, we've seen time and time again that if you bring in a running back, you have to have them in the right system. They got to have a good offensive line. So to me, I'm going to use some of that money to build our offensive line, to win in the trenches on both sides of the football. Because if you're going to have a head coach like Antonio Pierce, and the amount of times that I've seen Raider fans go, well, Mitch, look at what Dan Quinn did. Okay. I agree. I think Dan Quinn was able to get the team on the right track, but you also have to have a football team that matches that mentality. Like Mike Vrabel was good because a lot of his teams matched his mentality. The Detroit Lions right now are killing teams on the offensive line and on the defensive line, which matches Dan Campbell's mentality. You can't be a head coach like Antonio Pierce and get your shit pushed in on the offensive line and get your shit pushed in on the defensive line. If you're going to be a physical, branded style of coach, your team needs to resemble that, and the Raiders don't resemble that. So to me, I'm going to win in the trenches by any means possible. But the other problem with, again, by going out and getting a lot of these big-name players, think about how many starters that we're going to be without on the defensive side of the football because of free agency. We're talking about Marcus Epps, Trevon Merrick, Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane, Nate Hobbs. We're talking about Malcolm Kuntz, Adam Butler, John Jenkins. All those dudes right there, they're free agents next season. So because they're going to be free agents next season, you got to use a lot of that money, and instead of going out and spending big on two positions at the same spot and running back, you gotta negotiate in some other ways here. That's my personal opinion. If you want to get your questions, comments on the show, you can use #Raiders, or you can super chat to skip the line. Let's go to my man Ed Robbins, one of the realest in the biz. Mitch, do you think Telesco will be let go and TB12 will be the new GM next year? No, that's not going to happen. And Tom Brady, I don't even know if he's actually allowed to be a GM, as he is part-time owner, and as also he's got that deal with Fox. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know if he's allowed to do that. What the Raiders are looking to do, and this is what I think good organizations do, is they say, okay, let's have a lot of minds into the pot, right? Like, let's try to make this a democracy in the best way possible, where instead of it's like just one guy calling the shots, like a Josh McDaniels, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says to him, it's going to be Josh's decision. That's not how good football teams operate. That's not how good businesses operate, for a matter of fact. What the Raiders are going to do is they're going to say, all right, AP, maybe Vrabel, what are your thoughts? All right, Tom Telesco, what are your thoughts? Tom Brady, what are your thoughts? And then they're going to put all those ideas together, and if they all align, like the person that's going to make the most decisions next season at the quarterback position, it's Tom flippin' Brady. And if it ends up being Shedeur Sanders, then Tom Brady's going to have a lot more influence than what people think. I saw some guy earlier in the comments section before we went live saying, Mitch, stop kidding yourself. Brady's not going to have a say. It's Telesco. I'm looking at you dead in the eyes and telling you stop kidding yourself. Tom Brady was hired for a reason. Tom Brady is a part-time owner for a reason. Tom Brady is with Mark Davis for a reason, and it is to be able to use him as an asset, to be able to use him to be able to build and get the most important position in the NFL figured out, which is quarterback.
And if you're kidding yourself right now thinking Tom Brady isn't going to be a part of this team, when you invest into a company, what are you trying to do? You are trying to maximize your investment. So if you're Tom Brady and you invested into the Raiders, why would you not try your darndest to make the Raiders the best football team in the National Football League? Because you know what that means for Tom Brady? The investment that he made, the money that he already put in, the percentage of the Raiders that he owns,
yep.
The price of that, through the roof.
Yep. Marcel Rain, I'm not saying that we don't need a running back. I'm simply saying that in the list of importance, running back is down there. Quarterback, more important. Offensive line, more important. Getting another receiver, probably more important. Building your defensive line, being able to get some of those players back. The least important position on the offensive side of the football in the NFL is running back. I don't care what anybody says. Good teams show this year in and year out. The least important position on offense is running back. So why am I going to spend a lot of money at the running back position when we have so many other holes that we need to fill? That's all I'm saying.
Giggity.
What up, Donald? Were you wrong about Bo Nix? I don't think that I was wrong on Bo Nix yet, but he has impressed me. I also said this, and these are the two things that I said. One, I don't think Bo Nix is going to be good long-term in the NFL, and that's still TBD. Has he been playing well over the past few weeks? Sure. But I also said this, that the perfect destination for Bo Nix was with Sean Payton. I thought the perfect quarterback combo with Bo Nix was with Sean Payton based on the skill set that he has shown in years past with Drew Brees. And I mean, what you're seeing from Bo Nix is he's in the perfect situation right now in Denver. They're using him perfectly, where I still don't think that Bo Nix is that good of a quarterback. I don't. When I watch him on tape, it doesn't impress me all that much. But over the past 3 games, he's gotten better and better. They're using him in the right system. But I think what really this shows you is how important a good play caller is, how important having a head coach and your quarterback on the exact same page. That's more important because from just the talent and talent still, like if you put Bo Nix on Chicago, he's terrible. If you put Bo Nix in Washington, he's terrible. If you put Bo Nix in New England, terrible. They put him in the perfect situation, and you got to tip your cap to Sean Payton. But do I think that I was wrong on Bo Nix? No, we'll see what he does in his sophomore year. Sophomore slump, very, very real. Let's go to Akash. If MB had a better quarterback in 21, they would have won the Super Bowl. I think one of the things that Mike Vrabel's shown that just needs to be recognized here is when he took over for the Tennessee Titans, he got that football team on the right track right away. I mean, they were a dominant football team. Sure, they fell off the back half of the years. Probably, his last 2 years in the NFL. But, those were bad football teams. I'm talking bad football teams. You could look at what the Titans have this season. I might even be able to make an argument that the Titans this season are more talented than the Titans last season. And we see what the Titans look like this season. I mean, that's a hell of a defense. That's a defense that, they brought in a lot of pieces this offseason, but that's a team that goes out there and they play their freaking dicks off. And I know Vrabel's not there anymore, but, that's what he installed in that team. They go out there, they battle, and that's what the Raiders need. A team that goes out there and battles. What up, Raw? Who was the better prospect out of Oregon at quarterback, Bo Nix or Dillon Gabriel? I'm the only one that's allowed to answer this question. Oh, boy. There's a part of me that almost just says they're very similar. I'll go with Bo Nix. Personally, I think that he's probably the better prospect, only because I think he's a better athlete than Dillon Gabriel is. Gabriel's small, 5'11", he's a lefty. He's not going to be able to do a lot of the things in terms of extending plays like Bo can do. And though I still think Bo is very limited from a passer standpoint, he's a much better athlete than I think what a lot of people give him credit for. And he's seen a lot of football. And if he's able to, slow down the game a little bit, which is what Sean Payton's done a really good job for him early on, they've slowed the game down for him. I'm going to go with Bo Nix. But I'm also not that big of a fan of Dillon Gabriel. I wasn't that high on Bo. To me, I would say Gabriel's probably a quarterback that you target in the 5th round of the NFL draft, where Bo, I was kind of somewhere right around that too. I wouldn't have taken Bo in the round 1. I wouldn't have taken him in round 2. Probably would have taken him round 3 or 4. Let's go to Rich. Did Tay F up leaving the Raiders? Better future? Yes.
I can answer this one.
Quite frankly, I don't give a shit about Davante Adams. I'm happy that everything's going on with him. And I think that the Raiders, when the Raiders traded away Davante Adams for what they got, I get it. A lot of people are like, oh my God, we should have got more. Watching Davante in New York, I can confidently say he's washed up. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm saying he's not this top 10 wide receiver that everybody thinks about anymore. And if I told you that we could trade away a non-top 10 wide receiver for a 3rd round pick in today's day and age, that's pretty good value to me. Dude looks washed. No?
No, it's crazy because this offseason you were saying 2 1s.
I agree. Dude, I mean, the reason why I said 2 1s also, though, is because last offseason they turned down 2 2s. So if you're going to turn down 2 2s, that means, sure, you're like, oh, I want a 1st and a 2nd. But it's also where the Raiders were at. We were hoping for a better quarterback. That obviously didn't happen for what the Raiders were going to pay him. Again, they restructured the contract a little bit. It was AJ. I wouldn't say he's washed, but he's definitely regressed. You're right. That's the Raider fan of me speaking. He is absolutely positively regressed. He has absolutely positively lost a step. But and if you're going to be the diva level that Davante is, you got to bring it week in and week out. And to be the diva level that he's been this season, hell, you could even maybe look at last season, on top of the fact that he doesn't give a shit about blocking, or he's a me guy. And I mean, that's what Davante is at this point. You're paying a receiver all that money to be a me guy, and he's just not that good. For that, maybe he is washed.
Eric said 5th round for Gabriel. He's in contention for the Heisman. So is Stetson Bennett.
Just because you're good in college does not mean you're going to be good in the NFL. And people could say what they want. I just feel like my quarterback analysis has been pretty damn spot on for the Raiders.
Eric,
I can't always say that it's going to be. I'm
Eric,
wrong.
I'll bet you $200 Dillon Gabriel's not taken in the first 2 rounds.
Oh, yeah, I'd bet that in a heartbeat.
I would bet you $200 he's not taken in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, dude, no chance he's taking it in the first. The only way that it might be is if Carson Beck goes, I'm coming back. Quinn Ewers says, I'm coming back. I'm trying to think of any other. No, he ain't going in the first 2 rounds. It ain't going to matter. I'm doing the math. It ain't mathing. Eric says, let's make it 100. Screenshot this. Eric, I got your Venmo, so this one's not going to be a tough one to do. If you want to bet it, that's up to you. I would take that in a heartbeat. Eric, you in? I have the Venmo, Eric.
He said let's make it 100. We'll split it. I'll split it with you. We'll go 50-50.
So Raiders report against Eric.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Eric.
Because then it's like, what is he going to send both of us 100?
True. Eric, it's a deal. First 2 rounds, I'm in, $100. I guarantee you, Dylan Gabriel is not going in the first 2 rounds of this year's draft. Coming up here live on.
And Eric, you have to take a beer bong.
Without your shirt on. Coming up here on today's show, let's talk about Mike Vrabel here and why the Raiders are eyeing him. Then we got some smoke around a secret OC candidate. We'll be breaking that down for you. And then the final segment on today's show is around Brock Bowers. And guy just deserves more respect. Guy deserves to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation more than what he is. And I get it. He's on the Raiders. I get it. This team stinks. I get it. He's at the tight end spot. But when you really, really look at the numbers that he's putting up, you're going to go, yeah, I mean, he deserves to be in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
He's put up better numbers than past Rookie of the Year winners. No doubt about it.
Are you ready to start the show?
I am ready to get this thing rock and rolling. Also,
I'm not, because we're not at 200 likes yet.
Also, I don't know if Jedi Spidey is here, but I've been waiting for a long, long time to break out the Jedi Spidey jersey. It just came in.
Oh, you don't?
What?
Hold on.
What?
First off, let's get to 200 likes before we start, but hold on. Let me get it for you.
What? Oh, you're going to go get... I'm just confused. I don't know where Chugs is going. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, I don't know. Ross says, hearing Mitch say Bo is making progress is wild. What, is he not making progress or what? I don't know. I think he's making progress. He's played a lot better. Shout out to Jedi Spidey. They finally came in. Can you hear it? I don't know how to turn it off. There we go. I wanted to break out the Jedi Spidey once we got the lightsabers in the jersey. Finally got him. Took only a month and a half. But shout out to Jedi Spidey. And there's only one guy that I expect this comment from. It's the Fluffer. 2 guys sword fighting on YouTube. That's why you hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for 2 dudes chilling in the black hole, sword fighting, you hit that subscribe button right now.
Facts.
I mean, if that doesn't get you to hit that like button, I don't know what will.
Alyssa, that's a total vibe right now.
Sword fighting with the sound effects is crazy. You know what's really crazy? Because Jedi did tell us, he's like, if we're going to get lightsabers, you at least got to get movie quality. You know what I'm saying? You got to get some good ones. So every time there's contact made, it's like, it feels like it's actually there. I'm actually worried if I hit Chugs with that lightsaber, what would happen? Just poof.
Poof.
Is that what? I actually have never seen Star Wars, so no. I don't know. What do they melt?
It's literally like a, you know.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't know.
Just imagine like you have.
Like a lava sword.
Yes. It would just literally slice you in half.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Though, would the bleeding stop immediately because of how hot it is?
Yeah. So you're literally just cut in half.
That's kind of wild. I guess I got to, at some point.
You know what's even crazier?
What?
The main character goes into a school at some point to all the kids. I'm not shitting you. It's in episode 3.
Episode 3. Is that like the 3rd episode, or is it?
That's the 3rd episode of the one in the 2000s.
Ah, see, that's the confusing part.
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker when he turns bad. They kill all the Jedis, even the young ones.
So I guess I don't even need to watch it. Alex told me I need to watch Star Wars, but if I watch it, I got to watch from the original. Who has that amount of time? Who has that amount of time? Big Luck said, Chugs, we just hit 200 likes. So I guess that means we can finally get into today's show. Coming up here, Mike Vrabel could replace Antonio Pierce as the Raiders head coach next season. I'm going to talk about this report. I'm going to get into all the little odds and ends around this story because I'm not going to lie, it is pretty interesting from top to bottom. I'll also tell you, what needs to happen for Vrabel to become the Raiders head coach next season. Y'all ready to get this thing going? Somebody said watch in chronological order. Jeremy, if Jeremy Cole says it, I guess I got to do it. All right, I'll watch in chronological order over the summer. Coming up, let's talk about Mike Vrabel becoming the Raiders' next head coach. Coming up here today on the Raiders Report, Mike Vrabel could replace Antonio Pierce as the Raiders' next head coach next season, according to the latest reports. I'm going to get into what the latest around the silver and black is here on today's show because there has been a lot of smoke around whether or not AP is going to be back. I put out a video bright and early this morning which said, a lot about AP is in the right spot right now. But I think a lot of times this comes down to a business decision. And if the Raiders feel like a business decision needs to be made, hiring somebody that's better than Antonio Pierce, then action could be taken happening. So here we go. What's the latest around the Raiders and Mike Vrabel? According to a report, Vrabel is considered the front runner to be the Raiders' next head coach. Antonio Pierce and the current team is struggling this season at 2-8. They have already fired 3 coaches, and many people, including myself, have wondered if hiring AP was the right move, considering the fact that he's made a lot of very questionable coaching decisions. Vrabel was rumored to be a candidate last year. I don't know if you guys remember that, when the Raiders were looking at a bunch of their different, people that they could pick. And don't get me wrong, everybody expected the Raiders to hire Antonio Pierce, what they did. But for the OGs out there and a lot of the people that remember some of the topics that we were discussing 10 months ago, Vrabel was a name that was being thrown out there. But what I like this show and I want the nation to do is always have a loud voice, and I think that we try to give people that voice. So if you had to pick a head coach, this is the number one thing that I want you to comment here on today's show. In fact, I'll make you a deal. It's the only thing that I'm going to ask you to comment about. It's going to be the pinned comment. Type MV for Mike Vrabel. Type AP for Antonio Pierce if you could pick the Raiders head coach next season, because I'm telling you, it's only between these 2 guys. If I could pick between those 2, as much as I want to sit up here and say I wanted it to be Antonio Pierce, I can also sit up here and say that I think I might have been wrong wanting Antonio Pierce to be the Raiders head coach. But Mike Vrabel is a better coach than AP, and everything that you want in a head coach in AP, Mike Vrabel kind of already has and he brings to the table. He was the Titans head coach from 2018 to 2023, where he had a 54-45 record and 2-3 in the postseason. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champ as a player, all with the New England Patriots, and he also won Coach of the Year in 2021. He is a very well-respected head coach by the players, a very well-respected coach amongst NFL circles. So what we're going to get into here today is the latest around Mike Vrabel, the latest around Antonio Pierce, and whether or not he's going to be the Raiders head coach next season. So here's the first thing that we're going to start with. Will Antonio Pierce be the Raiders head coach next season? I know that I'm talking about this report right now with Vrabel, but I'm still going to sit up here and say that there's 3 just win babies in terms of AP being the head coach. I can confidently say at the time that I'm making this video, November 19th, that there is a 75% chance or higher that AP is going to be the head coach next season. Can things change? Of course, things can change. But I know this. Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders like Antonio Pierce. That is a big contributing factor to what could potentially happen in the offseason. AP has convinced the right people inside of the Raiders organization that he can get the job done if he is surrounded with the right OC, the right quarterback, hence Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels. Again, I talked about it a little bit earlier this morning. But Pierce is also willing to take a backseat to Tom Brady. And I reported earlier today also that if the new head coach is not willing to take a backseat to Tom Brady in terms of the quarterback decisions, Mark Davis is not going to look at that person. For AP, he's willing to take a backseat, not with everything, but at the QB spot. So the report that this originated from is from Pro Football Post. So here's what the exact quote was. Pierce's job is not safe, and there is growing expectation in league circles that Mike Vrabel is going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. Brady was involved in the process that led to the hiring of Pierce, but sources have indicated that Pierce was not Brady's top choice for the job. Should the team move on from Pierce, Vrabel is considered the front runner for the job. I think the really key part in that quote is if the Raiders move on from Antonio Pierce, Mike Vrabel is considered the front runner. Let me be very clear here. The only person that the Raiders will hire to be the Raiders coach if they move on from Antonio Pierce will be Mike Vrabel. It's not going to be Ben Johnson. Why? Ben Johnson's not going to take a backseat to Tom Brady. He's going to want full control. The only way you're getting a head coach of the Raiders next season is if you're willing to take a little bit of a humble pill and say, okay, Tom Brady, I'll let you call a few shots. And a lot of y'all already know that if you checked out the video that I put out early this morning, which indicated that Mark Davis wants his head coach to be okay with the idea of taking a little bit of a backseat to Tom Brady because Brady's going to be very heavily involved in the quarterback decision-making process. I'm telling you right now, Tom Brady's going to have a bigger voice than Tom Telesco, will have a bigger voice than whoever the hell the head coach is next season at the quarterback position and who's going to be calling plays for the silver and black. But I know, you might be asking, if AP's job is safe, then why should we care about Mike Vrabel? It's a phenomenal question. Quite frankly, if you're watching this show and what you've seen so far in it, and you go, all right, there's a report that Mike Vrabel could be here, but you're telling me AP's job's going to be safe. Why should I care? The reason why you should be asking yourself this is for this reason and this reason only. The solid relationship that Tom Brady and Mike Vrabel have. And we see every single year, the hiring of Josh McDaniels. Why? It's the person who is talking to Mark Davis and who Mark trusts the most in his ear. The person right now that is in Mark Davis's ear the closest, where you can almost feel the breath, a lot of H's in those conversations, it's Brady. And the reason why Mark gave Brady the discounted ownership deal is because he wants to listen to Tom Brady. And if Brady wants Mike Vrabel, and if Brady's in the ear of Mark Davis, we see it year in and year out. It can happen. But let me be very clear. Just because AP's job is safe now, and everything that I've heard, everybody that I talk to, does make it out to me that Antonio Pierce is going to be back next season. That AP has proved that he can get the job done if he has the right head coach, right, offensive coordinator. But things change in the NFL week to week. And it does. It could be okay now, and it could be bad the following week. Things change every single week in the National Football League. But you know what? I care about the Raiders' future. And I care about this football team. I care about all y'all because it's crazy to say this, but this team literally controls sometimes my happiness and my sadness on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But I also know that Raider Nation deserves better. And I care about the future of this team. And if you care about the future of this team, hit that subscribe button because you're going to know more about the Raiders than your friends, than your colleagues, than other Raiders fans if you subscribe to this channel. Let's go to the next story here around Mike Vrabel potentially being the Raiders' next head coach. Does Tom Brady want Vrabel to be the Raiders' next head coach? I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies, and I'm not going to give it 4. Why? Because Brady is okay with the idea of having AP be the head coach. Just because Brady's relationship with Vrabel is better, and just because Vrabel is the number 1 candidate for Tom Brady, that doesn't mean that Brady's going to go into Mark Davis's room and say, hey, I want you to tear all this down, and I want you to go with this guy instead of AP. Brady, it likes Antonio Pierce. And Brady understands that the ultimate goal here for Brady is to get Shedeur in here to have him be the quarterback. And if Shedeur and Deion are also good with Antonio Pierce, then there's no need to do anything absolutely crazy. But the Tom Brady-Mike Vrabel relationship does need to be paid very, very close attention to. And I do think that there's a lot of things going on in the background right now that have been kind of working for quite some time because Vrabel was teammates with Brady from 2001 to 2009, where they won 3 Super Bowls together. Vrabel was the top candidate for TB12 last hiring cycle. Brady believes in AP, but he thinks that the Raiders should upgrade. And you can't blame Brady for wanting to upgrade. We can't blame any Raider fan for wanting to upgrade, right? Like, it's not that I don't like Derek Carr. It's just Derek Carr is a very average quarterback. Why not try to get something better? It's not that I hate Aiden O'Connell, but Aiden O'Connell's not a very good NFL quarterback. Why not try to upgrade and get something better? It's not that I don't like Antonio Pierce, but based on what we've seen from Antonio Pierce, I don't know if he's good enough to get the job done. So if AP can say business decisions, if we can sit up here and treat this like a business instead of being buddy-buddy, like I love that AP screams Raiders. I love the mentality that AP was bringing in the offseason. But when you really look at the decision-making process that he's done, and I got to find the exact stat, and I'll go back and look at it, but I think NFL Next Generation Stats or whatever it is has shown that Antonio Pierce, when you look at the decisions he's made, is the worst head coach in the National Football League, and I will do a better job at getting those numbers to you. I just know that they're out there, so if you want to go look them up on Google, you can. And if you have the worst coach, why not try to get a little bit better? Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to fall into the Chicago Bears trap of, we're going to keep our head coach and Matt Eberflus. We're just going to bring in Caleb Williams because that'll fix everything. It's not always going to fix everything. You got to find the right marriage. And Shedeur is the quarterback that this team wants. Maybe Shedeur, Tom Brady, and Mike Vrabel is better than Shedeur, Tom Brady, and Antonio Pierce. Coming up here, this Mike Vrabel smoke has been around for months. And if you don't know that it's been around for months, then you're definitely not subscribed to this show. And quite frankly, I'm telling you this, you need to up your game up here. If we're going to be diehard Raider fans, if we're going to say we bleed silver and black, if you're going to say Womb to the Tomb, that this is a show that you need to watch in May, June, July. This is a show you need to watch in January, February, March. We're all in it all the time. I put out a video on this channel every single day for 5 years. If you want that type of level of commitment to excellence, then you better bring it every single day. You know who brings it every single day? Prize Picks. They're our sponsor here on today's show. And if anybody wants to put a little bit of money in their pocket, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. I love Prize Picks, and I've been playing Prize Picks for a very long time. And I love it because it gives me something to root for. If you're a Raider fan and you're waking up on game days and you're like, I don't even know why I'm watching this team, Prize Picks will give you a reason to root for. Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So I was looking for some more and lesses for the Raiders players this week. Unfortunately, I didn't find any. But you know what? I'm a man that likes a good deal. And Taco Tuesday, 25% off on Tuesdays. Chokes put this lineup together, and let's be real. If you're going to go Taco Tuesday, you got to put LeBron in there. So give me the more at 42.5 points, rebounds, and assists for King James tonight against, it looks like, the Utah Jazz. And then Jason Tatum, 22.5 points up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Give me the more on that as well. If this hits, I put some money in my pocket. But you know what? I would never watch an NBA game. I wouldn't. If you told me, Mitch, you just got to sit down and watch an NBA game, why would you do it? I would say this. The reason why I would sit down and watch a basketball game at this point in the year is because I'm playing on Prize Picks. And if you're planning on sitting down as well and watching a basketball game, then I hope that you get a Prize Picks lineup in as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. That link's going to be available to you all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So let's get into this smoke that's been around Mike Vrabel, because there has been. There's been a lot of smoke around Mike Vrabel to the Raiders in the past few months. Like, this isn't a new thing. And the fact that people are treating this like it's something new, again, hey, wake up, because you need to get on the ball here. This has been something that we've been discussing for months. Vrabel will be the Raiders' next head coach. What are the chances of this? The number, what I'm going to show you, is going to freak a lot of people out, because I'm telling you this, he will be the next head coach for just win babies. But Mitch, you just said AP's job is safe. If the Raiders fire Antonio Pierce, it's locked and loaded. It's Mike Vrabel. I'm not saying that he's going to be the head coach in 2025. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if the Raiders decide to move on from AP, it's already been decided that it's going to be Mike Vrabel. If the Raiders move on from AP, say it with me, it's going to be Vrabel. Brady tried convincing Mark Davis last year to hire Mike. And I don't know if y'all remember there was like a few awkward days where we were just sitting around waiting for the Raiders to hire AP, and it just didn't happen. And then it finally happened. But Vrabel's well-respected. And I do think that he is a better head coach than Antonio Pierce. I mean, we're talking about going from, hear me out, we're talking about going from a head coach, let's say he's Gardner Minshew level good of a head coach, to somebody that, I don't know, can maybe be a Shedeur Sanders, can maybe be a Cam Ward, or somebody that's already shown you that he can get it done and is a top 10 quarterback. Mike Vrabel is very well liked and very well respected, but it's not a set in stone thing. The Raiders, they were going to announce the hiring of Antonio Pierce. You guys remember that? And I know that this is one of the things that I got heckled for. I know a lot of other Raiders content creators got heckled for it, and a few other beat reporters said, oh, no, there's no truth to this, there's no truth to this. I'm going to sit up here and confidently say that there's a lot of truth to it. But do you remember the random holdup where AP's basically got the job, we're sitting around, we're waiting, and then it was like a day goes by, 2 days goes by, and we're like, wow, they haven't announced yet. What the hell are they waiting on? The reason why they didn't do it is because Tom Brady was in the ear of Mark Davis saying, I know you want to hire Antonio Pierce, but I think Mike Vrabel is the better candidate in order to do that. You know what? If you don't remember, let's go back here in the time machine a little bit and let's look at some of these reports. Let's look at some of the shows that we've done in years past. Mike Florio said this on Mark Davis, January 18th, 2024. The word on the NFL streets over the weekend was when you start connecting dots, Vrabel to the Raiders. Tom Brady immediately involved in the team, even through his attempt to purchase 5 to 10% of the franchise, yet to be approved by the owners, and it might never be. Here's the thing, it was. But Tom Brady, is involved, and he and Vrabel are tight. You know what also is a crazy thing? And I know people all the time are like, Mitch, you make up stuff, this and that, you got no sources. I hear it all the time. But I also know that you don't get to this point in my career where you put out a video every single day or you grow a show unless you do get some information. I made this video on November 6, 2024. That's 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago. What does it say? Raiders eyeing Mike Vrabel. I know that it was a mailbag, and I know that it was just a question. But a lot of times when you guys ask me questions, I know the answers to certain things. And one of the things that I know for a fact is the Raiders have been eyeing Vrabel for a long time. Tom Brady likes Vrabel a lot. And the reason why I want people to subscribe is so when a report like this comes out, they go, oh, that's not new information. There's no reason to hit that panic button. There's no reason to say, oh, they're going to bring in Vrabel, they're getting rid of Antonio Pierce. No, I want you to watch the shows because you're going to learn more watching this show than you will, any other person out there, because nobody puts in the time and the effort that we do. Coming up here, what needs to happen for Vrabel to be the Raiders head coach in 2025. I do still think that AP is going to be around next season unless some few things switch up here. And again, it's the NFL. Things can switch up very quickly. But I will say that these 5 things need to happen for Mike Vrabel to be the head coach. The first thing is this. Brady's got to be able to convince Mark Davis that it is worth it to hire Vrabel and then fire Antonio Pierce. It's not just open season where you can either hire Vrabel or hire AP. If it was that, it would be Vrabel. But because he'd have to fire Antonio Pierce and eat that money, Brady's got to be able to convince Mark that that's the right decision to do it. This is a very important thing. Maxx Crosby has to approve. A lot of people might roll their eyes at that, but Maxx has got the best player-owner relationship in the National Football League, and Mark listens to Maxx. Mark listens to Maxx because Mark believes that Maxx has the voice of the entire locker room. An owner's not going to go to player and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? No organization's going to do that. What Mark's going to do is, hey, Maxx, what do you think? And if Maxx gives it the thumbs up, which I don't know if Maxx will because Maxx threatened to be traded last offseason if AP didn't get the job. And I know Maxx is very, very close with Mark. He's very close as well with Antonio Pierce. But the approval of Maxx Crosby does mean a lot. So if Brady can convince Mark Davis, if Maxx Crosby approves it, what else needs to happen? Vrabel has got to be willing to take a backseat to Brady. And let's say it's 90% of the things are all Mike Vrabel in terms of the way practice is ran, the way your defense is going to go, the way this is going to go. The only thing that Vrabel's got to be willing to take a backseat to Brady to is quarterback. And any head coach that the Raiders would technically bring in got to be willing to take a back seat. The reason why Vrabel will be willing to take a back seat is because him and Brady are tight, and Brady's the one that would end up getting Vrabel the job. Let's go to the next reason here. Deion and Shedeur got to approve. I know last season we talked a lot about getting Jaden Daniels to the Raiders, and a lot of that was kind of wasted. But based on the conversations that I have with a lot of people, that was their number one plan. They wanted Jaden Daniels. The number one plan for the Raiders this year is to figure out a way to get Shedeur Sanders a part of the silver and black. If Deion and Shedeur go, I don't want Mike Vrabel to be the Raiders head coach, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if it would happen because that's how much Mark is locked in. Now, again, this is also predicated on the Raiders having the number one overall pick. This is also predicated on the Raiders having their pick at whatever quarterback they want. And then the last reason is this, and this one might surprise some people out there, but this is just going off of what I have heard. If the Raiders don't have a top draft pick, think about that for a second. Like, if the Raiders don't have a top draft pick, I think that helps out Mike Vrabel simply because people have told me that the Raiders do not trust Antonio Pierce unless the Raiders have a high draft pick. So, we're going to sit up here and go, oh, we want the Raiders to tank. We want the Raiders to tank. I think actually the Raiders tanking helps out AP keep his job because if AP is in that 1, 2, 3 spot and they're able to go out and get a Shedeur Sanders, a Cam Ward, then based on the people that I talk to, they're confident that Antonio Pierce is going to get it done. If AP gets put in this purgatory state of being the 13th pick again, being the 10th pick again, being the 9th pick, the 8th pick, and then it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to go out and get a quarterback, based on the people that I talk to, the Raiders aren't confident that Antonio Pierce is going to be able to build a team that's going to be competitive and go out there and win right away. So if AP wants to keep his job, I'm serious. They got to be in the top 3, and they got to be able to get Shedeur. I can confidently look and say if Shedeur Sanders isn't the Raiders quarterback next season, I don't think Antonio Pierce has got any shot of hell at being this team's head coach. That's just what I'm saying. If you agree with me, cool. If you disagree with me, hey, that's the cool part about the Raiders Report. It's the cool part about Raider Nation. I want y'all to be loud. I want y'all to speak your voice. I want y'all to speak your truth. And I'm also putting out a lot more content, way more content than I've ever had before. I got to give a huge shout out to our social media team here at Chat Sports. But if you want to get more content from me, follow me on IG, follow me on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. But before I get out of here, the reports around Mike Vrabel being the Raiders' next head coach, they are true. The Raiders are looking into it. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. All it's saying is Tom Brady wants Vrabel, but the Raiders also like Antonio Pierce. I know that the next 7 weeks are going to be very, very interesting around the silver and black. Hopefully you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. All right, Chugs, pick a head coach, Mike Vrabel, Antonio Pierce.
Ben Johnson.
I think you were just going for the BJ.
Yeah.
You're a BJ type of guy.
Give me...
What would you do?
Antonio Pierce.
Okay.
Give me Antonio Pierce.
Hoping that he can figure it out second year.
I would say...
Get a quarterback.
Give me Antonio Pierce. Let him by himself choose the next OC. Say, you have now until the next offseason.
Okay.
Choose an OC. Give me a quarterback. Because I get it where it's tough, and we're in a business where you want to see results. You want to see stuff now.
Yep.
But I want to see AP get his guys and see what it's like with that before we totally throw. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I don't think anybody really thought that the Raiders. Now, I'll admit, I thought they were going to be better than what they are this season. But I also didn't believe in Luke Getsy. Nobody here really believed in Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell long term. At least, God, I hope not. Right? But you would like to see what if his plan could have came to fruition. Because Jaden and Cliff was the plan. It's working really well with Washington right now. I get it.
And it's a tough situation because I truly do believe, and as stupid as it sounds, Washington's success, you said it in your videos this past week, I think that kind of helps AP out to show pretty good talent evaluator if he was willing to move up to the number 1 pick and still take Jaden Daniels like it was all reported to be, that no matter what, the only quarterback he wanted in this draft was Jaden Daniels. If that's the case, he's looking pretty smart right now because Jaden Daniels has had an insanely good season.
Probably going to win Rookie of the Year.
His first option at OC was Cliff Kingsbury. And that's looking pretty good for the Washington Commanders right now. So I still want AP. I still want to give him a chance and see what he's got because I don't want it to be, the Raiders, and, Gardner Minshew, I don't think he was ever slated into, sign and be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. And AP even said, worst case scenario, we have Aiden O'Connell be our starter. So him saying that in the offseason, I truly do believe going into the year, week 1, I think AP was upset with the roster configuration. Now, does that have something to do with AP and Telesco and their relationship and their ability to work together to create this team? Yes.
Yep.
It's not, he's not absolved of all those things.
Yep.
But at the same time, I don't want to get into a cycle of hire somebody, fire them immediately. Hire somebody, fire them immediately.
Yep. And I don't disagree, right? I was definitely on the train of get rid of McDaniels immediately because I knew he was going to be a dumpster fire from the jump. And I wanted AP to work. And, Antonio Pierce has still got to make the right proper adjustments, and he's got to be able to show that he can manage games effectively. And I'll try to find the stat, because the stat that I found was that statistically, Antonio Pierce is the worst head coach in the National Football League based off decisions that he's making. Now, the decisions that he's making are also like, for example, you remember in the very week 1 on the 43-yard line, he punted when it was 4th down and 1. What this stat is based on is like what the numbers say you should do compared to what he does. Now, that doesn't always work out. But based on stats like that, Antonio Pierce is technically the worst head coach in the NFL this year based on those actions. I'll try to find the stat. I really will. Because I hate being the guy that sits up here and gives that, and then they're like, oh, well, what is it based on? I don't have the answer. No, what's up, man? I just like the video, so therefore you all have to do, well, that's how the world works. Yeah.
Y'all have to like the video.
If Noah does it, everybody's got to do it. Carlos.
It's kind of the rules.
Why will Ben Johnson not be an option for head coach? Because he's not going to take a backseat to Tom Brady. And I'm not saying that it was ever going to happen. We can sit up here and hope that Ben Johnson could be it. I'm simply telling you that Tom Brady's going to have say at the quarterback position. Tom Brady's going to have a lot of say on how that offense works. If you're Ben Johnson and you get the job, you're not going to let somebody else tell you what quarterback to get. You're not going to let somebody else tell you what type of offense that you're going to run. Ben Johnson's going to get to pick whatever he wants to do. So because of that, he's not going to come to the Raiders because Tom Brady will have a voice. And Tom Brady's voice is not going to be something that we're going to see something that I don't know if we've ever seen before, where somebody that's not a GM and a head coach is making a lot of decisions inside of that organization, and it is very well known that they're making a lot of decisions in that organization.
How, if Ben Johnson, he could have been a head coach this past season, right?
Yep.
He turned down a lot of offers. He said, I'm going to return to Detroit. That's telling me one thing. He is looking for the right opportunity. He's not looking for an opportunity.
Yep.
He's looking for the right opportunity. He's not trying to go on dates. He's trying to find his future wife.
Yeah.
So he's not going to go out there and test it with teams that he's not sure about. And if you're an offensive coordinator, are you sure about going to the Raiders after they fire AP that you're going to have success long-term with this franchise? No, you're not. Yeah. Unless the Raiders have the number 1 pick, which even in that sense, I'm not sure.
What if Ben Johnson doesn't want Shedeur Sanders? And I don't know if he does or not. I have no idea. But based on talent and talent alone, if I had the number 1 overall pick, I would take Cam Ward. I think he's the best quarterback in this year's class. Now, obviously, landing spot totally can change up a lot of my opinions on that. But if Ben Johnson wants Cam Ward, and if Ben Johnson has the number 1 overall pick and he's the Raiders and Johnson goes, I want Cam Ward, Tom Brady and Mark Davis go, that's great, but you're going to get Shedeur Sanders. Johnson's going to go, that's not the job that I want. And he's like, I'm not going to take it. So the reason why Ben's not going to come here is because the Raiders are going to give Tom Brady a voice, and the Raiders want Shedeur Sanders to be their quarterback. And Ben, based on what I know, it's not quite the same path.
It's a thing where it's also hard of course, if Ben Johnson wanted to be the Raiders head coach, the Raiders would fire AP right now and say, Ben Johnson, at the end of the season, the head coaching job is yours. It's not a question of the Raiders not wanting Ben Johnson.
Sure.
With this, does Ben Johnson want the Raiders? And it's the same situation that the Raiders had themselves in this past, offseason where there was that holdup, and we talked about the Vrabel holdup, but also there was a little bit of the Harbaugh holdup of, does Harbaugh want to be the Raiders head coach? And that was a risk that I don't know if Mark Davis was willing to take, because it was not only the Raiders, but also the Bears had 1 foot in, 1 foot out on Eberflus, depending on if Harbaugh wanted him. I'm not sure about the Vikings, but I do think it was between the Chargers, the Bears, and the Raiders. And we weren't sure if all were on the table, who Harbaugh would have finally selected.
Well, the Vikings flew him there. Like the
Yeah.
the Vikings were a team that were at least interested, but again, I don't know if that's where he would have went. Looking at it now, it looks like he made the right decision. And when you find somebody that's a culture changer like Harbaugh, it's kind of the way Mike Vrabel is. He's a culture changer where it just works. And sometimes good head coaches just figure out a way to make it work. Let's go to Real Cowboy. Chug spitting facts. Chug's for the GM spot. Yin?
People are talking.
Hey, maybe someday, right? Maybe someday. We got 900 people here in the building. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like button. Also, we will be live on Thursday for Thursday Night Football, and we actually have a game that we can root for. We got to be rooting for the Browns on Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, Browns-Steelers.
Browns-Steelers, we have to root for the Browns. If the Browns going to win, that helps the Raiders draft stock. Helps the Raiders keep on moving up that stock, which right now, if the draft were to be today, they'd have the number 5 pick. They had the number 4 pick on Monday. They have the number 5 pick now due to strength of schedule and the Giants getting bumped up after the Cowboys lost.
Yep.
It is what it is there. Got another super chat coming in here.
J-Roy, and he's coming in hot.
I like it, Mitch. You like to say you don't know ball, yet you were hilariously wrong on Bo Nix. Sad, do better, casual. Honestly, J-Roy, I don't know if I was hilariously wrong. I mean, B's played better. Like, there's no doubt about it. I still think, though, that when I said Bo Nix would go to the perfect spot, I said Sean Payton and the Broncos would be that perfect spot. It comes down to head coach, quarterback, comes down to OC, one calling the plays, comes down to having a good pairing, good fitting. And you can go back and watch the tape, but I would say do better on your part because I did say that the best landing spot for Bo Nix was with the Broncos. But I also don't think that we can sit up here and say that, no matter what, Bo's going to be a slam dunk. He's played much better, and he's gotten better and better and better, and you got to give Bo Nix a lot of credit. You got to give Sean Payton a lot of credit in that. But then also, just to say, he's got let's say a 3 to 4 game sample size where it's been really good football, and it has been much better football. They should have beat the Chiefs. They were red hot last week, 4 touchdowns. But then also, you can have a sophomore slump. Like, we've seen quarterbacks win Rookie of the Year. Marcus Mariota, Vince Young, flame out pretty quickly. Heck, what about a Sam Bradford? Won Rookie of the Year, flamed out pretty quickly. Look at C.J. Stroud, the struggles he's having this season.
Also,
it's the level of talent Bo Nix has, I think is going to be very hard to sustain that level throughout the NFL, throughout his NFL career. And if you're taking a QB in round 1, you're taking somebody that you need for many, many years to come.
And looking at his stats real quick, I mean, hilariously wrong on Bo Nix. He's 15th in the league in yards, 11th in the league in touchdowns, 21st in the league in QBR. He's better than what we thought.
He is doing well. He's played much better the past 3 weeks.
Is he an MVP level candidate? Is he somebody who is a slam dunk for the future? I don't know. But also, J-Roy, if you were to give us your thoughts on the NFL each and every single day, I really wonder how many times you'd be correct, J-Roy. Because
and that's fine. I mean, I think right now they're winning football games.
It's easy to throw stones in a glass house, J-Roy. That's all I'm saying. You're not putting yourself out there. You're just putting little comments here and there about what we say. But if you have that, go make a YouTube show, put your NFL thoughts out there, and let's see how you do.
Yeah, let's look at, last week against Atlanta, that's a hell of a game. 4 touchdowns. The week before that against Kansas City, they should have won that game. He threw for 215, 2 touchdowns. The week before that, lost to Baltimore. They got blown out 41-10. The win against Carolina, again, good, but it's been Carolina. The only team that really has struggled against the Panthers this season is the Raiders. He threw for 284 and 3 touchdowns. The week before that, they got a win, but he threw for 164 yards, no touchdowns. Week before that was a loss. Then they beat the Raiders, boat race. They beat the Jets in a game where he threw for 60 yards. I think what's so good right now about what the Broncos are doing is they're not asking Bo Nix to do too much. He had a great game last week, but they're leaning on that defense.
I was going to say, if you're talking about the real
conservative
MVP of the Broncos this season, it's been their defense.
Their defense is phenomenal right now. I mean, you could make an argument that's the best defense in the NFL.
But,
you could make an argument.
J-Roy, I'm looking forward to your videos. Hit me up. Send me one of the links to your videos. I'm really excited to see what you have to say about all the stuff around the NFL and see how much you really do know. So let me know whenever you make a video.
Yeah. What's up, Chug Spitting Facts? We already got that one.
I actually didn't mean to go back to this one.
You just got on your J-Roy chant, and you're like, you know what? I'm still spitting facts. God, family, Raiders for life. Why Vrabel if we can get Papa Bill Belichick? I think it speaks volumes that Tom Brady wants Mike Vrabel more than Bill Belichick. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you this and that. Does Bill have a better resume? Yes, he does. But I think also Bill has shown you that when he doesn't have Tom Brady as his quarterback, he has struggled way more where he's got a below 500 record, where Vrabel has actually shown you in years that where he doesn't even have that good of a quarterback, he's still able to go out there and win some football games. But I think the biggest thing that I can possibly say is if Tom Brady is picking Mike Vrabel over Bill Belichick, who's worked with both of those guys, that tells me a lot. I mean, that's how I would say it. I've never worked with Bill. I've never worked with Mike, but Tom Brady has, and he's played at the highest level with both of those guys. And the fact that he's picking Vrabel, that's
that profile picture is hilarious.
I can't even tell what I see. It's Taylor Swift, and it's Maxx Swift, and
she's looking back at Maxx.
That's actually hilarious, man. That's actually hilarious.
That's a really good profile picture.
Oh, man, oh, man. All right, let's get into the next segment. Coming up here on today's show, there is a secret OC candidate that the Raiders could potentially be looking at this offseason. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of things need to happen for this OC candidate to happen, but I do think it's at least worth noting because this is usually the time of the year where we do start to get some reports. There's some leaks. There's some rumors that are going around. Information that we receive. Typically, it doesn't happen until January, but we might as well be in January at this point for the Raiders. They're 2-8, and they already know that. Somebody said, "Don't tell secrets." I know this. When people tell me secrets, it's meant to be told. Does that make sense? Like, people don't tell me, the host of a show, don't say this unless that information they want to get out there. So that's all I'll say. Now, once in a while, I'm not allowed to say certain things, and I don't. I don't tell you guys everything that I hear, and I won't tell you everything that I've heard along the way. But when I get stuff that I know that I can share, I do. I share it. That's why we have this relationship. That's what family does. What do you got for me?
Just the Twitter streets are hilarious.
Twitter streets are always hilarious. I got Junior coming in here with a super chat. J. Roy, put your...
I was dogging him, but I'm not gonna put that up. I'm not gonna say all that. It's a little friendly banter back and forth.
Junior, I appreciate you having our back.
Thank you for having our back. J. Roy's been here for a little bit, and I know he's just trying to poke the bear.
And I think, a lot of times, and maybe this is just a pet peeve of Chugs and I, where, and I don't know what you guys do every day, and I'm not going to ask what you do every day, but I also know, like, when you give your opinion, when you give whatever as often as what we do, and it can be saved, and the coolest part about YouTube, you can go back, you look at everything that we say. I think a lot of times people remember when we are wrong or when they think we're wrong way more than we're right. I also have seen the amount of times that people on social media are like, Mitch, you wanted the Raiders to hire Josh McDaniels. Like, me saying that out loud, everybody that watches the show is probably like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. You've never said anything like that. Where people just they create these own things in their mind, and I don't know how it ever happens. But one of my biggest pet peeves is don't get me wrong. You can say certain things. To call me a casual, though, no disrespect to J. Roy, I would run circles around just about anybody, and I only say that because nobody does this as often as what we do. Opinions are going to be wrong, no doubt about it. But I don't know if my opinion's wrong on that one yet. Noah, is Shedeur 100% AP's quarterback, though? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If AP wants to keep his job, Shedeur Sanders will be the Raiders' quarterback. And if you're Antonio Pierce, if you already know that it doesn't matter what you say at the quarterback spot, because it's not going to matter. If AP wants to keep his job, Shedeur Sanders got to be the quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders is not the Raiders' quarterback, and I know it's very difficult because we're talking about making decisions in January that could impact us in April. If the Raiders don't feel like they're going to be able to get Shedeur Sanders in the draft, AP won't be the coach next season. Yeah. I don't think so, at least.
Cold open on this one, Mitchie.
Sounds good. Coming up, let's talk about a surprise secret OC candidate for the Silver and Black. Josh McDaniels sucked. Luke Getsy really sucked. Who's going to be the Raiders play caller in 2025? This is a really important conversation. And if you want the next Raiders play caller to actually be good at his job, click that like button because I'm sick and tired of watching sick and tired offenses try to move the football. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you guys that there is a secret Raiders OC candidate that is starting to emerge here around the silver and black. Some of you wouldn't understand it if it was a secret. I'm simply up here telling you that the information that I'm going to share today is really big in terms of which quarterback the Raiders could potentially end up drafting in the 2025 NFL Draft. Before I get into that secret OC candidate, I do want to tell you that our show today is presented by Panda Supps. If you want some of the best workout supplements on the market, use code TANK, T-A-N-K. I'm sure all of y'all know how to spell it at this point. For 20% off at pandasupps.com. That link is available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So let's get into it. Who is this surprise OC candidate that the Raiders could potentially hire in 2025? His name is Pat Shurmur. He is currently the offensive coordinator for Colorado, a team that we've been talking about very, very much here on this show. Source: Raiders could consider hiring Colorado OC Pat Shurmur. This would only happen if the Raiders know that Shedeur is going to them. A lot of y'all are going to be like, Mitch, how the hell are we going to know if Shedeur is going to be going to the Raiders or not? One pick. You got to have the number one overall pick. If the Raiders have the number one pick, or even if the Raiders have number two and they hear that Cam's going to go number one and they know that they're going to be able to get Shedeur, then Pat Shurmur could become in that realm of possibilities. The other option is if the Raiders are picking 2 and 3 and Deion tells those teams he's not going there, he's not going there, he's going to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm telling you right now, if the Raiders end up hiring Pat Shurmur in January, go start buying your Shedeur Sanders jerseys right now, because Deion brought in Shurmur to Colorado to work with Shedeur Sanders. He knew that he was going to go from an HBCU school, small school, to now a bigger school, and they had to be able to build it, but they had to be able to build it quick. And due to the success and due to the growth that Shedeur has had, Deion is very, very high at Pat Shurmur, very high at pairing him with Shedeur in the NFL, which we know the Raiders do care about. So should the Raiders hire Pat Shurmur to be their OC in 2025? Give me a yes, give me a no, and this is the only question that I want you to answer from, maybe it's the most important question that I want you to answer from today's show. Give me a yes, give me a no down below in the comment section. For me personally, on whether or not I want the Raiders to hire Pat Shurmur, I'm always going to be very blunt. I'm always going to be very honest in my opinions. My opinion is this: the Raiders can do better than hiring Shurmur. I get that Deion likes him. I get that Shedeur likes him. But there are better options. There are better candidates out there for you to be able to do it. If you were a race car driver and you were only racing in, let's say, I don't know, a Lexus. I'm not into cars, so that might sound crazy. But then somebody gives you, hey, I can get you let's say a Lamborghini. Maybe that's a faster car. Maybe it's not. But if you have the opportunity to get better and improve, in my boat, you should go out there and you should try to do it. Do I think Shurmur has had success with Shedeur? Obviously he has. But also, I would look at it as, if Shedeur's been this good with Shurmur, imagine what he could be with a better OC. Imagine what he could do with somebody, with Tom Brady, with the Raiders, with a great offensive play caller. Shurmur guarantees Shedeur, which, for that reason, I could have worse guarantees in life. I've been sitting up here hooting and hollering that I want the Raiders to get a franchise quarterback, and I know if the Raiders hire Shurmur, that means we're getting Shedeur. That would make me sleep a little bit better at night. But if Brady, Deion, Shedeur all agree, then I'm telling you this, then it could actually happen. It's not going to matter who the head coach is. I promise you. It will not matter who the Raiders head coach is, because if Brady says yes, if Deion says yes, and if Shedeur says yes, then that OC could actually end up being Pat Shurmur. Coming up here on the show, why Shurmur could be the Raiders' next OC. I'm going to go through and I'm going to outline some of the big reasons that have been illustrated to me of why he could be in consideration to be this next guy calling plays for the Silver and Black. Let's go to the first reason here. The Raiders are going to draft Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that they're going to draft him. I'm saying that if the Raiders know that they're going to be able to get Shedeur, Pat Shurmur is going to be the OC. The only way that you can guarantee Shedeur to the Raiders is if the Silver and Black are picking number one. If Deion is forcing Shedeur to the Raiders, this could also be one of the contingency plans that Deion has. Deion is not worried about losing his OC, because I think Deion's going to find a job elsewhere after this college football season. And why would he not want his son to be able to succeed in the way that his son has been succeeding with Pat Shurmur. So hiring Shurmur in January means that they're going to get Shedeur. Let's go to the next reason here of why Shurmur could be the Raiders' next OC. If Deion Sanders wants the Raiders to hire Shedeur as OC the last 2 seasons, that makes a lot of sense to me. We have seen Shedeur grow. I was somebody in the offseason that said if Shedeur Sanders' last name wasn't Sanders, he wouldn't be a first-round quarterback. I said it, and a lot of people know that I said it. I can also look at all y'all in the eyes and say Shedeur Sanders deserves to be a top 10 pick. Shedeur Sanders might even be deserved to be a top 5 pick. He has gotten better and better and better, and if Deion went out and handpicked his OC, and if Deion went out and tried to find somebody that matches Shedeur's skill set, that's very important. We've heard Deion say that he wants to be able to match Shedeur's skill set with Tom Brady because those two work together. So if Shurmur has helped Shedeur get better, that means a lot. Colorado's offense with Shedeur, I do think can succeed in the NFL. Yeah, you're not going to run the exact same scheme, but Shedeur and Shurmur's offense, I don't care what anybody says, it is predicated on getting the ball out quickly. It is predicated on making the right correct reads at the line of scrimmage if need be. It is predicated on accuracy and throwing players open. If that doesn't sound like Tom Brady, then I don't know what does. But let's look at Shedeur's improvement from year 1 in 2023 to 2024. Completion percentage has improved. The yards per game has improved. The touchdowns per game has improved. Yes, the interception has gone up, but I think it's also because the Colorado's asking Shedeur to do a little bit more than what he has in the past. The quarterback rating has improved, but the most important thing in wins and losses, Colorado was 4-8 last season, right? 4 wins, 4-8, they were something in that realm. Shedeur, this season already, they're competing to be in the college football playoffs. They're ranked for the love of God. And what? They're 7-2, 8-2. I don't know what their exact record is, but they're actually winning football games on behalf of Shedeur. When you actually look at a lot of those other numbers on the left side of the screen, I don't want to say that they were garbage numbers, but let's paint between the lines here. When you're 4-8 and you're putting up numbers like that, you're getting a lot more garbage time stats. Now when you look at the numbers that he's putting up, they're not nearly as many garbage time stats. If you're looking for Raiders videos every single day, hit that subscribe button. We go live 3 times a week right now. When breaking news happens, we go live for that. We're talking about videos, finding the next franchise quarterback. We're talking about videos for the OC, draft, free agency. We're going to be pumping out all that type of stuff. January, February, March, I don't go anywhere. If you want more content around the Raiders and not just content this season, because this season sucks, I promise you, we're going to do our job here on this YouTube channel. Let's go to another reason here of why Shurmur could be the Raiders' next OC. Shurmur has head coaching experience. If you don't know this by now, then I don't know what else I got to tell you. The Raiders care that their next OC has head coaching experience if Antonio Pierce is the guy. If Antonio Pierce is the Raiders' head coach, they will try to bring in an OC that has past head coaching experience because they want their OC to almost be the head coach on the offensive side of the football. That way AP can just be the delegator, the CEO, and really only concentrate on one side. So think about this. The Raiders, they want an OC with that head coaching experience. And Shurmur, he was the head coach of the Browns for 2 seasons. He was also the head coach of the Giants for 2 seasons. I'll say it. Didn't really go all that well. I'll also say that destination and landing spot do really matter. Does it really surprise anybody that those 2 franchises are still dumpster fires? No, because some franchises are just bad. But do you remember when the Raiders wanted AP and Cliff Kingsbury? They wanted Cliff Kingsbury because of his past head coaching experience, because they wanted him to be the leader on the offense. Shurmur has been an OC in the NFL, and he's also been a head coach. When you look at what Shurmur has done from an OC standpoint and his time in the league, I'll admit some good, some bad. Also, that 2015 season with Philly, he was an interim head coach for 1 game in there. But from his time with the Rams and for 2 seasons, Philly for 3 seasons, Minnesota, some of those offenses were pretty damn impressive. And then with the Denver Broncos, not great. But a lot of the times, when Shurmur was handed the job, it wasn't always in the best situation. And that's a fact. When he was with the Rams, it was a bad situation. When he was with Philly, he was actually able to turn a bad situation into a very good situation. Same thing with the Minnesota Vikings. He did a good job being able to get the most out of his talent. At least that's what I thought. But there also is a true statement of some guys are meant to be coordinators. Some guys are not meant to be head coaches. And Pat Shurmur falls exactly into that realm. Coming up here, I got more reasons why the Raiders could potentially hire the Colorado OC to be their next OC following this season. Before I get into that, though, Panda Subs, They are a loyal sponsor, and I want the nation to show them some love. Use code TANK for 20% off at pandasups.com. I've been a big fan of the Sleepy. If you have trouble sleeping at night, I'm telling you, take a scoop of this. It's going to knock you out. Not only that, you're going to sleep really well. One of the other things of why I know sometimes people are afraid to take sleeping stuff, you have crazy and wild dreams. I've never really experienced that. My fiance Alex has told me that she's experienced it. I've never had crazy or wild dreams when taking Sleepy. If you're also planning on going to work out, you need to stay hydrated. Take a scoop of BCAAs after your workout. I mean, if you're going to already get up and go to the gym, why not get the most out of that workout? And if you're somebody where you're like, you know what, Mitch, I don't need the Sleepy. I don't need all this other stuff. I just need to be able to eat a little bit healthier. What's the number one thing you would recommend me? I would say protein. Protein, to be able to just put a protein shake into your diet, maybe instead of, I don't know, a certain meal, which can be difficult, but these protein shakes are going to fill you up. And here are just some of the flavors that I'll recommend. If you want to be able to mix your smoothies with a lot of fruit, I recommend a lot of the vanilla ones, maybe the pineapple whip, the strawberries and cream. What's crazy about this protein, though, there's actually freeze-dried pineapple. There's actually freeze-dried strawberries. There's actually freeze-dried marshmallows in the campfire s'mores. This is the best protein on the market. I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor. And I hope that anybody that's watching this show right now live or on a later date, go down in the comments and tell people how good Panda Subs protein is, because I get it. It's my job to tell you that it's good. But as a consumer, it's the protein I use every day. As a consumer, it's the products that I use every day. And I don't have to just use a product. I pay for the products. I choose to use the product. Why? Because they're really, truly that good. Let's keep this show moving here. Pat Shurmur, he brings experience from the AFC West. I know that this one might be a little bit of an eye roll, but this matters to Mark Davis. It also matters to Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco is going to be the Raiders GM next season. And if you can add somebody that does have AFC West experience, think of this as just a little bit of a cherry on top. It also matters, though, because they want to be able to build this team with some of that past experience and some of the coaching overlap, if you will. But his most recent stint in the NFL was with Denver from 2020 to 2021. Just saying. Let's go to the next reason here, because this one is a very interesting one. He does come from the Andy Reid coaching tree. The Andy Reid coaching tree, I have a feeling, is something that you guys are going to hear me say a lot this offseason for multiple reasons. The first reason is the Raiders want to take down the Giant. The Giant is the back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Give me the FKCs down below. But if you want to take down the Giant, maybe you need somebody that's worked with Andy Reid before, and Shurmur has done that. Also, if the Raiders do decide to bring in Mike Vrabel, could be a way where Shurmur slides in to be able to get that job, because Vrabel also comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree. From my knowledge, Shurmur and Reid, I don't know how many times they overlapped, but I do know they came from that same coaching tree. So being able to get those ideologies together from an offensive, defensive-minded standpoint could be something very interesting. The Raiders also do like Chip Kelly a lot, and they have liked Chip Kelly for multiple years. He was linked to the job last season, and Shurmur worked with him, and the best version of an offense that we've seen with Pat Shurmur was with Chip Kelly. Wasn't an air-it-out, spread-it-out style of offense, which I do think would work very well with a quarterback like Shedeur or Cam Ward. Let's go to the last and the final reason here. He has had success with rookie quarterbacks in the past. If you're going to bring in a brand-new rookie QB, what you want that rookie quarterback to be paired with somebody that's been there, that's done that before. Pat Shurmur, back in 2010, he helped the number one overall pick, Sam Bradford, win Rookie of the Year. When Sam Bradford lost Shurmur as his offensive coordinator, the following season, he was atrocious. The Rams went 1-9 in their first 10 games. The Rams, though, also, after that very first year that they took Sam Bradford, won 6 more games than they did the previous year. So if Shurmur's already showed you that he can groom a quarterback quickly, and here's the thing, is Shedeur a better athlete than Sam Bradford? Yes, no doubt about it. And Bradford's numbers his rookie year aren't like staggering, but when you actually looked at how bad that Rams team was and how bad that offensive line was, I mean, these numbers are, decent. It's also many years ago. I shouldn't say many years ago. It's probably, 15 years ago at this point, where the NFL was a lot more tough, where it's not as easy, I think, for rookie quarterbacks to be able to get into the situation right away. But then also, the way Bradford executes his offense is very similar to the way Shedeur, very similar to the way Tom Brady would try to execute an offense. They're going to sit in the pocket. They're going to pick you apart. They're going to use accuracy. They're going to use you to throw guys open. And when they need to, they can use their legs. Shedeur is a much better athlete than Sam Bradford is. That's just a fact. So in conclusion, Pat Shurmur could be the Raiders' OC if they know that Shedeur Sanders is going to be a Raider. The Raiders know that Shurmur could be paired with AP or Mike Vrabel. That's a very good thing for this current organization, especially when Tom Brady's the one calling the shots. I believe that the Raiders could get a better OC. I think you'd be settling a little bit here on Shurmur. I'll admit it would be a absolute Mark Davis Raiders hire to bring in Shurmur to make Deion happy, to make Shedeur happy when better candidates out there. But if I'm going to say that better candidates are out there, I at least got to be able to give you guys some names. And to me, these are some names that I at least need y'all to keep in mind where if I'm going to be making videos, I'm going to be making lots and lots of videos around potential OC candidates, I believe that all of these candidates would be better than Pat Shurmur. But I can also understand the Raiders wanting to pair Pat Shurmur with Deion Sanders, with Tom Brady, because it sounds like this has been a plan that's been going on for a very, very long time. So before I get out of here, I do want to say again that Pat Shurmur, the rumors, you're not going to hear anything about him. Not now, at least, because this information really isn't out there. But don't be surprised when in the offseason, some rumors start popping up around Pat Shurmur potentially being the Raiders' next offensive coordinator. Should the Raiders hire Shurmur? Give me a yes, give me a no after hearing all that information. What do you guys have to say? Because anytime I get something, I take as much information as I can, and I go, all right, I'm always curious to see how the nation's going to react to this. And this was one where I was like, oh, man, Shurmur. I don't love it because I think you can do better, but I think a lot of people are hopefully are sitting there going, all right, based on a lot of things that you just said, I could see why they would go out there and do it.
I mean,
yes, no?
It's tough.
Tough.
What if I told you the only way you get Shedeur is with Pat Shurmur? Then would you be in?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think based on where I'm at right now, like if you tell me I have the number 1 overall pick, would I still take that deal? I don't know if I take that deal. But if you tell me right now, Raiders are picking 5, it's week 12, and I'm just so desperate for a franchise quarterback, would I sign up for it right now? Yes. I would. Like, if you told me right now I got to sign up for it, yeah, I got to settle on Shurmur, but we get Shedeur Sanders, I'm in. I'm in. That's just based on where I'm at right now. Though Anthony says no, Jorge's going to go with a no. A lot of no's at this point. Toasty says you don't know shit at this point. You're right. Nobody knows anything at this point. But I do know that Pat Shurmur's name is being brought up in Raider circles. And because of that, we're going to talk about it.
Facts.
Facts. Do you care if I go grab some water real quick?
Yeah.
He's like, in fact, I do. I do really care. Hashtag Raiders, super chat. Get those questions, comments in. Give me 30 seconds to refill my water, and then I will be right the back.
Noah, is Shedeur 100% AP's QB, though? That's a good question. That's the money question right there. Does AP want Shedeur more than Cam? Like, if they had the number 1 pick, would they take Shedeur over Cam Ward? That's tough. I think this is more speaking out of the Raiders not having the number 1 pick and maybe Cam Ward going number 1 overall.
I believe that the only way Antonio Pierce has a job with the Raiders next season is if Shedeur is the quarterback. And they got to know that they're going to be able to get him. And again, what's tough about this timeline is you're due your hiring in January. The draft is after free agency. It's after all these things. So I think the Raiders would need a verbal confirmation from Deion. And I know a lot of times people are like, oh, well, Deion doesn't have that power. Deion does have that power. And Deion has already come out and said that he's going to tell certain teams to not draft his kid. Like, you know, we could really see a situation where the Browns could say, number 1 pick, they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. What's going to happen? Deion's going to call up the Browns and go, hey, that was dumb. You might as well trade him now. And if you're an NFL team, you're going to go, well, if I know that Shedeur's not going to play there, I'm not going to give you as much for that. So because of that, teams won't draft Shedeur. Like, there will be teams that probably don't even put Sanders on their draft board because they are going to be told by Deion that he ain't going there.
That's how you know. Chugs, how do you feel? How do you and Danny feel after those shots last night? Love seeing Dallas get dog walked. She was a little bit more rough than I was. Luckily, though, I was able to wake up this morning.
Yeah, Christ. Yep. Axe says, what happens if Deion says no to the Raiders? Deion wants Shedeur to go to the Raiders because of his relationship with Tom Brady.
currently a sponsor, but they have helped us in the past. You know what I love on a day like after I'm drinking?
What?
A little Waterboy recovery.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Those things are, it's like liquid IV, but I think a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, even like they're not a sponsor anymore either, but those Z-Biotics, like you drink some of that before you actually start drinking, that stuff would really help you out as well.
I still have a whole pack of Waterboy that I use whenever I need to. I need it the next day.
Facts. FF, what up, man? You guys rock. Is AP just a quarterback away from the playoffs? I don't want to say yes to this because you just never know, but I do kind of think that the Raiders, if they would have had Jaden Daniels this season, I do think that they're in contention to be in the playoffs. That's also, we didn't know that we were going to lose so many players on defense, and the Raiders have definitely been bit by the injury bug.
If the Raiders had Jaden Daniels, we'd have 2,000 live right now.
Especially because they were like, why is Mike Vrabel going to be the head coach?
Yeah.
Let's go to Lord Cameron Abbott. What's up, Mount Raider Moore? AP is the epitome of a Raiders head coach. Give him some time to warm up as a head coach, and we will bring the Raiders Nation back to the promised land. I do know that AP has got probably, well, I don't know the exact figures of Antonio Pierce's contract. I do know that he's either got 1 or 2 years left on his deal. There's been some speculation out there that he only has 1 year left on his head coaching gig, though usually coaches get 3 years. It's been a little bit of murky water in that regard, but I hear you. I think what you can't fail to do, though, Cameron, and this is like the big thing, if you have the number 1 overall pick and you get your pickings at quarterback, right? You got to be able to make sure that you're putting the right pieces around in order to do that. I'll admit, AP is shown and is convinced the right people in the Raiders organization that he's able to do it, which is why he could be back next season. Though I'm telling you this, though. What if I told you that even if the Raiders took Shedeur at number 1, there's a chance that he doesn't play in year 1? Like, that could be an actual thing. And if he doesn't play in year 1, that puts AP in a really tough spot, and then it's going to be Mike Vrabel's job in 2026. Like, that could be another thing that Raiders fans and even myself, like, I've thought about it from a time to time, where Shedeur could sit in year 1. They could just kind of throw AP to the Wolves, let him be bad another season, and then they go, all right, AP was bad for back-to-back years. Then they just give the job to Mike Vrabel because they don't want to just waste it away. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to Nick. It would make sense. Pat and Shedeur are used to working with a crappy O-line. I mean, Colorado's offensive line's been better this season. It's been much, much better. Like, it was a bad O-line last season, no doubt about it. But, I mean, Deion gets it, and this is something I talked about on my show that I did earlier today. Deion understands the frustrations and kind of the nuances that go into be a first-year head coach and how much better things can be in year 2 when you get your guys. And that's also something that's working in Antonio Pierce's favor, that I can promise you. Another one coming in here from Raider Prime. What's up, my man? I got, Raider Prime, Nathan Wolf, Chance-tastic.
Raider Prime.
My man, you think we draft both Sanders, quarterback, and corner? It's funny because I was talking to Chugs about this where the Houston Texans, they drafted C.J. Stroud. They traded up for Will Anderson at 2 and 3. I'm not going to say that it's impossible. The only reason, I know, I mean, you'd have to figure out a lot to be able to move up.
The only reason the Texans were able to do that is because they had picks from Deshaun Watson.
Correct.
That's the only. There's no way they would have been able to do that because they would have had to trade like 4 first-round picks.
Like, for the Raiders to be able to go up, and if you wanted to get Shedeur and if you wanted to get Travis Hunter, I would say you'd have to trade your second, both of your thirds, and then a very good player on your team to be able to get a guy like Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And if you're the Raiders, you have way too many holes to be able to do that. And I don't see why the Raiders would do it, personally. I don't. Nathan Wolf, what's the percentage we would have taken Penix or stuck with Bowers? So what you're saying, if Michael Penix would have been there at 13 and if Brock Bowers would have been there at 13? I mean, I was told by one person that the Raiders weren't like crazy high on Michael Penix Jr., that they didn't view him as a round 1 quarterback. I actually still think that they might have taken Brock Bowers. They were very high on Bowers, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't have the answer to that, though. I mean, it depends who you talk to, because there were some beat reporters out there that were saying that the Raiders were very high on Michael Penix Jr. There were also some other beat reporters out there that were saying the Raiders weren't as high on Penix. I would hope that they would take him, and I know it sounds crazy just based on how great Brock Bowers has been, and Bowers looks like the best tight end in the National Football League. But we also see like what a quarterback can do and how much a young quarterback can change a team, because Jaden Daniels is a great example of what a quarterback can do to an entire team, to an entire culture. Chance, what's up, my man? Why are we rotating coaching hires that were great hires in the past? Enough of that shit. I say get a top 3 pick, get a young offensive-minded head coach. So I guess who would be the young offensive-minded head coach that you would want? I just don't know who it would be.
I think a name that should be in everybody's mind if this team goes in a different direction, Clint Kubiak. If the Saints hire somebody else and he doesn't return to them, I would be blowing up his line and saying,
I think Kubiak would be great.
What do we have to do to get you in Las Vegas? Because the games that Derek Carr has played for the Saints,
much better.
And reminder also, the Saints at full strength, which now that win doesn't look as good because the Cowboys have kind of sucked this year, but
sure.
The Saints at full strength this year on offense have looked awesome.
Yeah.
Other instances, not so much.
Yeah, I agree. What up, T-Nipple? Sanders, Bowers, Higgins would go crazy, I hope. I hope it would go crazy, too. I mean, I think this would be a phenomenal pairing. But again, it's who's playing offensive line. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't block and you can't dominate in the trenches, you're not going to be able to win football games at a consistent basis, where you got to be able to run block. You got to be able to pass block. All those things are going to work in contingency, because if you don't have anybody that can block for Shedeur, he's not athletic enough to be able to beat you with his legs time and time again at the NFL level. At least I think.
Yeah, and
he's good though with his legs.
Real Cowboy, thanks for clarifying it. Yeah. Raider Prime was asking about both the Sanders, not Shedeur and Travis Hunter. He was asking about Shiloh.
So I view Shiloh as a safety. The problem is I don't know where Shiloh goes. Like, you're not going to have to trade up to get Shiloh. I mean, Shiloh is a day 3 pick.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Raiders want to get him, they'll be able to get him. Like, anybody that thinks Shiloh ain't going in round 1. No, I would be shocked if he goes round 2 or 3.
I will tell you, I could see the Raiders taking him in like round 4 if they do take Shedeur on some brawny type shit. Where it's like, they took Shedeur, who are they going to take next in round 4?
I think the other team you got to worry about is the Cowboys. I could see the Cowboys taking Shiloh on some Jerry Jones crazy type shit.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the Cowboys are going to do. Like, the Cowboys are crazy enough to trade up to number 1 to take Travis Hunter.
I mean, this might sound crazy to Raider fans. I think the Cowboys are in a even though they have a quarterback that they paid and they have certain young playmakers, I think the Cowboys are in a much worse spot than the Raiders right now.
I mean, they're not in a good spot, I think, financially, because of what they're going to have to do with Dak Prescott's contract. And then on top of that, like, I know somebody was like, oh, Ben Johnson's going to go to Dallas. I don't know if he will. If you were the top head coach candidate, would you want to go deal with the bullshit of Jerry Jones? And
I mean,
I don't care. I mean,
ex players, everybody who, like, former employees of the Cowboys have all said it's not like this anywhere else in the NFL when you play with the Dallas Cowboys. And I bet Raider players and personnel would probably say similar things about the Raiders.
Sure.
But when you play for the Cowboys, they're the only team that legit, during workouts and practices, they have people touring the practice facility while players are trying to work out and do things.
Yeah.
Like, Dalton Schultz, former tight end of the Cowboys, now with the Texans, was on a podcast earlier in the year and was like, yeah, I felt like I was in a zoo because I'd be trying to do bench press and people would be tapping on the mirror trying to get our attention while we're working out.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I mean, there was a few, I forget who it was exactly, but it was talking about, like, when they're in the training room. Sometimes they're in boxers, and, like, people are allowed to just, like, look in and see some of the things that are going on. Like, imagine you're trying to get your shit worked out, and you got some little kitty staring at your ding-dong.
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing here? I mean, that's kind of wild. What up, No? I'm sorry, but Shedeur just screams another classic Raiders mistake. Don't think he's the answer. Honestly, not a fan of next year's quarterback draft class. To me, the only guys that I like are Cam and Shedeur. And one of the reasons why I'm starting to get more on board with Shedeur Sanders.
I still like Milroe.
Oh, I like Milroe too. Sorry, I forgot Milroe. I do think, though, Milroe, totally different OC we would need. We would need a lot of different moving parts, I think, for a guy like Jalen Milroe. I think Mike Vrabel and Milroe would be a phenomenal pairing if I'm being real. But the reason why I'm starting to like Shedeur more and more is one of the reasons why I love Jaden Daniels was you need a quarterback that can show you that he can improve. Shedeur has improved every single season. That's very important to me. I want to see a quarterback that is coachable. Shedeur is a coachable player. He's been working with some of the best quarterback minds. He's been working with Tom Brady for quite some time. Shedeur's an accurate quarterback. You can't deny that. Accuracy is very important. The ability to throw players open is very important. Shedeur also is as cool, calm, and collected in big-time situations. That's important. I also need a QB that I know can handle pressure. And, handling pressure, I don't mean from a blitzing standpoint. Being a QB is so much more about having this up here than really having the athletic ability. Like, you could be a quarterback like Anthony Richardson who's got all the tools in the freaking world, but he don't have it up here, and he doesn't have the accuracy. He's not going to be good enough to get it done in the NFL. Shedeur doesn't have the gifts that Anthony Richardson does from an athletic standpoint, but he has it up here. I don't know if there's ever been a quarterback. I mean, we're talking about QBs with, like, the level of pressure of a Tim Tebow, a Johnny Manziel, a Vince Young. I'm talking quarterbacks that when they're playing college football, the level of pressure is astronomical. And I don't know if there's ever been somebody that has had to deal with more pressure than what Shedeur has dealt with. And he's answered the call. Like, you got to be able to respect that. Like, when people say he's Jamarcus Russell, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And if you're saying that, Chugs and Mitch have been, riding on Shedeur this whole time.
We used to dog Shedeur.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to change your opinion when you feel you need to change your opinion. Go back, watch our shows last year at this time. We were like, Shedeur stinks, this and that. You got to sometimes turn on the tape, and the tape doesn't lie when I watch Shedeur. This guy can play.
Two things can be true. One thing is, a year ago, Shedeur was not ready to be a draftable quarterback, and he was not in the right state to be a quarterback in the NFL. And two, in the past year, he has improved tremendously.
He has.
And what are you just going to deny? Like, you can have an opinion, but if things change, what are you just going to deny the facts that, somebody's gotten better or things have changed? No.
Yeah.
You're going to say, okay, well, things are a little different now because he's gotten better at X, Y, and Z. And
like Bo Nix. Bo Nix, the first 6-7 weeks of the season was like really bad. Like, let's be real. He was really bad. And now, getting better and better and better. Sometimes you got to tip your cap. It's going to happen. I'll tell you this. He's going to get worse. Then he's going to get better. Then he might get worse. We'll see. It's going to be a fun roller coaster ride.
For my takes and for J. Roy, I need Bo Nix to get worse.
J. Roy's going to be fine. He'll be back. They always do. They always come back. We got 750 people watching this show right now. Don't make me say it again. Don't make Chug say it again.
Yep.
You already know what you need to do. Let's get those numbers up here a little bit.
Never,
What? No?
No, do that too.
What were you going to say?
No, just go ahead.
Just go ahead?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to talk about Brock Bowers and why he deserves to have a little bit more respect and he needs a little bit more attention around winning Rookie of the Year. And I know, it's probably not going to happen.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, get back at E-C-T. Suck it to me, 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 suck it to me.
That's a lot of socking it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
better than socking it on you.
I'll tell you this. Anybody that uses a sock, it's kind of weird.
What you got?
No doubt.
Baby,
You're
I
using
got
a
it.
sock, that's kind of weird. Let's just be
What
real.
you need? I have a quick question, though.
Uh-oh.
Do you use a washcloth?
For
Like when you shower, what
Oh.
do you use? No, oh no. Do you
I was like,
when you shower, do you use a washcloth?
I use a loofah, but only when Alex and I shower together and she can like scrub my back.
Other than that, you use your hands?
I use my hands.
Yeah, like a savage.
I mean, a washcloth
I
is kind of.
I was talking with my best friend, and we were like going back and forth because he came up to visit a couple weekends ago,
Okay.
and he was like, "Yo, do you have any washcloths I can use?" And I was like, "Sorry, I'm white. I don't use washcloths."
I mean,
'Cause it's
well, I was
white-
worried because the washcloth story, like in elementary school, I've told this story before. I went to elementary school with a kid, their family, and they didn't use toilet paper. They used washcloths.
Dude,
They just put it right back in the washing machine.
I'm telling white people most of the time do not use washcloths.
Loofah.
All of my black friends though, washcloths.
I'll have to ask Alex's dad.
Dude, ask him. Be like, do you use a washcloth?
He's a military
Marsh.
guy, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'll ask Alex's dad.
I bet you Marsh doesn't.
Everything must go
Do
garage.
you use a washcloth? No, he's white. He doesn't use it.
See, I feel like when I wash my body,
Use the
it's
what?
like you wash your up here, you wash the down there area,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you got to be really dirty to wash your legs. I do wash
I
my
didn't hear
feet
what you
every
said.
time I shower, but like you're like when you look at your legs, you're like, the water will
The
get
circle
that.
one?
You get a little bit. You do a little bit here and there. You figure it out.
Do you ever use your hands? You just get in there with your hands sometimes?
So Lesbo doesn't use one.
Huh? When you're
Nick San-
7?
Nick Sanchez, using your hands is better. They're just there. I'm kind of with you. You got some traction on your hands, I guess, to get that soap in there. I don't know. There's something that I don't like with washcloths though. Like if you keep them in the shower for a long time,
Yeah,
I'm like, how is it clean?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I feel like if I use a washcloth, I can only use it like 2 or 3 times.
How is it clean? I don't know. Coming up, the breakthrough says,
I-
Mitch,
I-
that's nasty.
I use my hands.
Hands guy. I could see that. Big
Alyssa says I use the bar straight to the body. And that's the other thing too. I feel like with all these new bar soaps, like all these new different, men's bar soaps, they're like exfoliating straight to the body.
The silicone scrubber from
Axe.
no, what's the shaver we Manscaped. That's what
Manscaped? Oh, I didn't get that. I didn't get
I
that
bought
one.
it with my own money and I used code Raiders.
Wow.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Like $10 off, $10 off or something.
Dude.
That's crazy.
And it came with 3 pairs of socks.
Wow, get
Nope,
scaped.
I don't have Manscaped on
I,
today.
I was saying when my
Use washcloth?
when my best friend came up, he asked me, he's like, "Do you have any washcloths I can use?" And I said, "No, I'm white. I don't use washcloths."
What do you use?
My hands. I'm a savage. I get in there and
As long as you don't use the same loop for all 365 days.
yeah,
That's crazy.
I use my hands and Danny's hands. That's what washes his body.
I actually sometimes just put soap in my beard and I just rub that all over Alex. That's how we just wash it in there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Coming up on today's show, let's talk about Brock Bowers.
Nick Sanchez.
What? I use a picture of Jugs. What's crazy is if that's in a frame. Because then it just doesn't make... If it's a Polaroid, I can kind of get that. If it's just a
Ugh.
framed picture of Chugs, you just squirt a whole bunch of soap, hopefully, on that, and you're just... The picture of that alone is
Dude,
kind of wild.
maybe that should be our next Shark Tank idea. A loofah, but it's somebody's face.
Man, I don't know. I feel like that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. You can't sell that to people.
The amount of
under-
Sydney Sweeney loofahs that we've sold is
It
outrageous.
is out of control.
They're all going to this one guy, Trace Gerard.
That's the
He bought
great-
100 of them.
That's kind of insane. And I think this is the part of the show where
This J-Roy guy bought 500 Bo Nix loofahs? What the hell?
he requested a Blow Nix one, actually. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, he cut a hole in the middle of it.
Ay, ay, ay. All right. Let's talk about Brock Bowers before we lose everyone here.
All right.
Seriously, appreciate everyone still tuning into this show. Coming up here, we're going to be breaking down why I think Brock Bowers deserves to be in the Rookie of the Year debate. Also, Ollie's the sponsor on this one, so just keep that in mind. We should be good to go. Cool. Ready? Also, I just saw the 2 Super Chats come in. We will get to those after this segment. Cool? More shower talk, though. Shower Thoughts. Great Twitter account to follow. Coming up, let's talk about this. Raider Nation, I need our voices to be heard. I need you to share this video right now because I believe Brock Bowers deserves to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation a little bit more than what he is. And I know that he's not a quarterback. And I know that the chances of him winning this award are a little bit small. But when you get done watching today's show, and I'm going to show you a lot of numbers that are going to back up my argument here, you're going to leave today going, yeah, you know what? I think Brock Bowers does deserve to be in the conversation a little bit more. When you look at the latest Rookie of the Year odds, Brock Bowers right now as it stands has the 4th highest odds at plus 3,000 behind Drake May, quarterback of the Patriots, behind Bo Nix, quarterback of the Broncos, and behind the favorite right now and the clear front runner, Jayden Daniels, the quarterback of the Washington Commanders. When you look at the past Rookie of the Year winners, and I'm only going to go back since 2000, 10 quarterbacks, 9 running backs, 5 wide receivers, most recently C.J. Stroud, most recently Saquon Barkley, most recently here was Garrett Wilson. I think it was Garrett Wilson. It was Garrett Wilson. And I know that Brock Bowers is probably isn't going to win this award because the tight end, funny enough, has never won the Rookie of the Year award. But I also know that the Raiders being a bad football team / the Raiders just being the Raiders is never going to help anybody winning any type of long-term award. Quarterbacks usually win this type of thing, and I get it, offensive side of the football, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running back is where this goes. But can we not sometimes just bend the rules a little bit? Or when history shows you that change needs to happen, like, I don't like the idea that we say Brock Bowers can't win Rookie of the Year because he's a tight end. You can make an argument that he's the best rookie in the National Football League right now. Therefore, doesn't he deserve to win Rookie of the Year? I'm just saying, I don't care that he won't win it. I'm going to still give him the credit that he deserves, and I want the nation to still show up in every single game day, watch Brock Bowers play, because this guy is a real one. The way we talk about Maxx Crosby is going to be the way that we talk about Brock Bowers. He's really, truly that good of a player, and if you do, you wake up every single morning and you go, why am I going to watch the Raiders on game day? Watch it for this guy right here, because if I was the head coach of the Raiders, if I was the offensive coordinator of the Raiders, if I was the guy making decisions, I'm trying to build an offense that can really focalize, I don't even know if that's a word, Brock Bowers and get him the ball a little bit more going forward. So you know what? I care about the Raiders, and if you bleed silver and black, we don't need to be blood to be family. The nation has proven that to me time and time again. But you know what? If you do feel like family when you're watching the show, hit that subscribe button. And if you are a first-time viewer, give me a week. Give me 1 week to be able to prove to you that this YouTube channel is not a YouTube channel. This is a family that we've been able to create here, and I'll prove it to you in 1 week. Subscribe if you bleed silver and black, because we're family here after all. So why does Brock Bowers deserve to be in this Rookie of the Year conversation? Why does he deserve to get some of these Rookie of the Year votes? He is breaking rookie records. Like, just giving the award to Jayden Daniels because the Commanders are winning, I get it. That's how it goes. Just giving the award to Bo Nix because, I don't know, the Broncos are winning football games? Sure. But, like, if Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels and Drake May and all these quarterbacks are putting up very, let's say, average quarterback numbers, Jayden's doing much better. But if you're saying average quarterback numbers compared to past Rookie of the Year winners, okay, interesting. But, like, shouldn't we give it to the guy that's putting up numbers that have literally never, and I mean never, have been put up before? That's exactly what Bowers is doing. Through 10 games, he's got 70 grabs, 706 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is on pace to shatter every single every single rookie record out there in terms of targets, receptions, and receiving yards. I mean, we're talking about records being broken that haven't been broken since 1961. I'm sorry, I think that kind of solidifies in the argument of maybe we should bend the rules a little bit when rules are needed to be bended. And I know that he's not a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, but look at these flipping numbers up on screen. Brock Bowers is on pace to shatter the target record, to shatter the reception record, to shatter the receiving yards record by a rookie tight end. But it's not just what he's doing from a rookie tight end standpoint. He is putting up numbers that we have not really seen at the tight end position in history. 70 catches through 10 games. That's the fourth most all-time by an NFL tight end. These aren't rookies when they did this, but Brock Bowers is doing it when he's a rookie. We're talking about Travis Kelce being the greatest tight end of all time. He's did this with Patrick Mahomes in a year they won the Super Bowl. He's doing this with Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and Desmond Ridder. Brock Bowers is really, truly that talented of a player, and I know that people don't watch the Raiders every day. Quite frankly, I don't know if I would watch the Raiders every week. But for the people that do tune on the show and do tune in to watch the Raiders play, when you watch Brock Bowers, you clearly go, that guy's different, and I do. I think he is the best rookie in the National Football League. He just doesn't play the most important position in the NFL. Before we get into more reasons here of why Brock Bowers deserves some credit, because you know what? Brock Bowers is a dog. And if you got a dog, huge shout out to our sponsor here, Ollie. This is the dog food that I give Chuck, and my guy absolutely crushes this stuff. And if you got a picky eater, I'm telling you what, listen up right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition for your dog. Right now, Ollie is offering a fantastic deal to let your pup taste test a personalized meal plan. Get 60% off your first box of meals when you use promo code ChatSports at Ollie.com. And 5 flavors they'll absolutely love. You don't have to be a vet to know that feeding your dog real whole food with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. A perfectly portioned whole fresh food diet has been proven to extend your pup's life by 2.5 years. Who wouldn't want more time with their best friend? With no harmful fillers, no preservatives, Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and processors around the world. Chuck is a very picky eater, and the dog that you see up on screen right now, that's my guy. That's my dog. That's Chuck, and he's always been somebody that, I don't know why, I probably gave him some bad food here. He's always never been afraid to tell me how he feels. But, like, here's me being real, okay? I can say Ollie deal's going to be this. I can say that this food's going to taste great for your dog. I trust Ollie with Chuck. And if anybody else has got a dog that's a bit of a picky eater that kind of ruins their bathroom schedule, and I think anybody that follows me on social media knows that I would give my life for this dog. I freaking love my dog. And if you freaking love your dog too, I'm telling you, scan that QR code. That link's down in the comments. It's in the description. Or you can just head to Ollie.com. Tell them all about your dog. Use promo code ChatSports, and you're going to get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. Head to OLLIE.com. Enter code ChatSports to get 60% off your first box. They offer a clean bowl guaranteed on their first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you can get your money back. One of the things that drove Alex nuts is when I would put dog food in the fridge, and now because of this container that stores the food, it looks pretty. You don't smell anything. It's easy to hold all the food, and if you got a dog that you love like your kid, man, you want to give them food that they love, and Chuck absolutely just crushes this food. A lot of times, I could put food on his bowl, and he wouldn't touch it for hours, sometimes a day or two. And now, every time I put Ollie in his bowl, he eats it right away. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring this show, and a huge shout out to Brock Bowers for being a dog. Let's go! Brock Bowers. I think you can make an argument that he is the best tight end in the NFL right now. You can't make an argument with any other player that's a rookie that they're the best at their position right now in the league. The reason why that I think that you can make an argument that he's the best tight end in the NFL, well, first off, he leads all tight ends in targets, receiving yards, receptions, first downs picked up. His 88.3 PFF grade is second best amongst all NFL tight ends behind only George Kittle. And he can do it all. You can line him up as a fullback. You can line him up as a receiver, X, Y. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up as a tight end. He can pass block. He can run block. There's not players in the NFL that can do everything that Brock Bowers does at, like, a really high level. Like, I'm not kidding you. If Bowers was in the backyard baseball or backyard football, people would call him Pablo Sanchez because he's a secret weapon. That's how good Bowers is. Let's look at the tight end reception leaders here in 2024. Guess what? Bowers leads that list. 70 catches is first place. Travis Kelce was 62. And then, look, nobody is really even all that close to Bowers in terms of just tight end reception leaders. And he's got Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and Luke Getsy was calling plays for half the season, most of the season. Receiving yards leaders, Brock Bowers, and it's not even close. He has got a over 150 receiving yard league on George Kittle. And I think we'd all agree, George Kittle, Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, I think they have better quarterback play than what Brock Bowers has. What about tight end first down leaders? This is one of my favorite stats. Who do you go to when it matters the most in big-time situations? You go to the guy that can pick up a first down. Brock Bowers has got 9 more than the next closest dude in terms of first downs picked up. He is a dog, and he can beat you in so many different ways. And you know what? I am so happy that the Raiders found a real one. Because you go back, you look at all those freaking shitty picks that we had in the first round. Bowers is a dog. Bowers is the real deal, and I am happy that the Raiders found a real one. Because you know how sometimes you need a player that can switch it all. Remember how many years the Raiders were the worst defense in the NFL? Year after year after year. And I know that this season hasn't gone the way that we wanted, but a lot of injuries. We got a Maxx Crosby. He was able to flip that script. He was able to get this defense going in the right direction. The Raiders got a real one of Brock Bowers. And when your best player brings the mentality that Bowers has, those are building blocks that you need to be able to achieve the ultimate goal, and that's to just win, baby. Let's go to the last one here of why I think Bowers deserves to be in this Rookie of the Year conversation. Let's just compare him to past winners. And that might be difficult because I get it. No tight end has ever won this award. So, Mitch, how are we going to compare? Let's compare him to wide receivers. Running back, I don't think it makes sense. Quarterback, I don't think really makes sense. So let's look at past Rookie of the Year winners just based on stats and stats alone. You got Bowers. He's got 70 catches. Let me just say this. 70 catches, 706 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is through 10 games. Garrett Wilson, when he won Rookie of the Year, 83 for 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Jets finished 7-10. They finished dead last in their division. Let's look at the Bengals here. 81, 14, 55, 13 touchdowns. I get it. More yards, more touchdowns. He also had Joe Burrow throwing him the rock that season. They went 10-7. The New York Giants, OBJ, 91 grabs, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. So let's play a little bit of a game here. Let's say Brock Bowers does exactly what he's been doing for the entire season. I don't think it's crazy after 10 games to say, here's what the numbers that he's projected to put up. So you're telling me in a year where Brock Bowers is projected to get essentially 30 more catches than what OBJ got the year he won it, 40 more catches than what these two guys got, more yards than what Garrett Wilson got, more touchdowns than what Garrett Wilson got. I understand, but if Garrett Wilson, a member of the New York Jets, a team that finishes dead last in their division, can win Rookie of the Year, why can't Brock Bowers? Why is me putting this idea into the world a crazy thing? Like, Bowers also scored 2 touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. What happens if these numbers here get around 10? If Bowers ends up finishing the season with 119 flipping catches for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, tell me why he doesn't deserve Rookie of the Year. Because the only argument you can give me right now is the touchdowns are a little bit low and the Raiders are in last place. But we have already seen in recent years that a player can finish dead last in his division and a player can put up these type of numbers and win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Why can't Brock Bowers, especially if he continues to do exactly what he's doing, especially if Bo Nix or if a player like Jaden Daniels starts to fall off a little bit. So in conclusion, I'm not trying to sit up here and say that Bowers deserves to win Rookie of the Year. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, why is it crazy to say that he deserves to be in the conversation? Because I just showed you many numbers. He's doing things that no rookie has ever done. He's doing things that nobody has ever done at the tight end position. He is putting up numbers. He just had 13 catches the other day, which is the most by a rookie at any position in their first year in the NFL. Obviously, he's a rookie. Bowers is breaking history books. And if nobody else is doing that, let's just get back to the award going to the best rookie and not just the quarterback on the team winning football games. Because if we're looking at best rookie, no way you can look me in the eyes and say there's a better rookie out there on the offensive side of the football than Brock frickin' Bowers. If the Raiders can't draft a quarterback, oh boy, who's going to be the starter? Christ almighty, what a hell of a question that is. That's something I don't even want to think about here, man. Something I don't even really want to think about, man.
It's rough.
I would say Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields. Those would be my top 2 guesses. If the Raiders can't draft a QB, it's going to be Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields.
Daniel Jones.
Not going to be Daniel Jones. No way. No chance. I would have a mental breakdown. My life.
Marsh would love that.
I would not be able to handle that. It would be unhealthy. If I had to deal with this season and the Raiders' plan is to go to Daniel Jones, that's worse than you moving on from Derek Carr and going to Jimmy Garoppolo. It's worse. I think it's worse. And that was bad. That's a path I never want to have to go down either. Can't be. Wouldn't it be hilarious though? Daniel Jones just comes to the Raiders and he's just that dude.
He's balls out.
He's just that dude. I know. Very, very
Maybe,
tough
maybe it
one.
was the Giants' fault.
Could be. Could be.
I mean, you had a great O-line with Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Illuminor.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to reach out to Jermaine, and I have not heard anything from him over the past few weeks, which it's been pretty rough for the Giants. And I'm just like, are you all right, man? Like, what's it like over there? It is what it is. All right, y'all. Before we hop on out of here, reminder that Chugs and I, we're going to be live on Thursday for a little Thursday Night Football Browns-Steelers game. We need the Browns to win. It does help out the Raiders, ultimately get that goal, getting that number 1 pick. I should also say this.
Taking the Browns to the Super Bowl.
My dad's birthday is tomorrow, and he's going to celebrate with us on Thursday. So we're going to have a little bit of fun on Thursday's show. Also, the costume, the outfit I got to wear on Thursday, it's an interesting one. That's all I'm going to say. Nick, using your hands is better. They're just there in terms of washing your body when you're in the shower if you're late to the conversation. What's up, Oscar? I use a loofah regardless by myself or with my girlfriend, but here's the thing. If it's good enough with these shitty hands, it can't be that bad for your body. I use a loofah. Now, I'll say this. If I'm like really gross, I actually try not to use my loofah because I'm worried that like the sweat and all that's going to get on there. Where like I would actually wash my body first with my hands and then use a loofah.
Wait.
If I'm really gross.
So you pre-washed?
Before I use a loofah, yes. Like if I'm dirty. Like dirty.
What's the point of the loofah?
Well, because you don't want... You just rinse off the dirt first.
You're like, I got to get clean before I use my loofah, which is supposed to clean me.
It will clean you. But like if you use a loofah and you got a bunch of dirt on yourself and you're just scrubbing, like that dirt's going to get on that loofah. Or that sweat, in my mind, is going to get on that loofah. So I will. If I'm going to use my loofah and I'm like that bad, like super sweaty after a workout or a run, and I'm like dripping sweaty.
That's like saying I don't want to undercook my steak, so I cook it before I cook it.
No, it's not.
That's like saying I don't want to undercook it, so I'm going to microwave my steak, and then I'm going to go ahead and grill my steak.
No, it's not.
That is...
Big luck. Loofah for OC. Am I crazy for saying that? I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
I bet you Seeps uses a loofah. Seeps seems like a loofah guy.
You see PJ Houston?
My wife's loofah kind of shakes around.
Can't walk. A super lathered washcloth is the key.
Chip? He uses a loofah.
There's no way. Chip's
a hand guy for sure.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I was too, though, when I was that young.
Dude, I'm... Hands.
Alyssa's got my back on this one, which I'm glad.
About the pre-wash? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Again, it's not like... You're just doing it to get all the dirt and shit off your body, and then you use a loofah. How is that?
So then what is the loofah's purpose at that point?
To clean
but
your
if
body.
You're already clean.
You're not clean.
You get all the dirt and everything off your body, and you... Are you saying like...
All right, hear me out.
Are you saying you
Imagine taking your car through a car wash and then getting it waxed so it shines. I'm taking my body through a car wash, and then the loofah...
You put wax on the loofah.
I'm done.
But the thing is, are you using soap before you use the loofah?
Yes.
And then you use a different soap or the same soap?
Same soap on
so
the loofah.
That's the different analogy. You're saying you use the car wash and then you use a wax, which is a different product. You're saying same. That's like saying I take my car through the car wash before I take it through a car wash.
But a loofah is meant to exfoliate, where if you're using that loofah and you're washing your body and there's dirt, you're not gonna get the result you want.
I don't know.
I don't think I'm crazy for saying what I'm saying.
Sound a little crazy.
Do I? All right, maybe I do. If you want more hygiene tips, hit that subscribe button. All right, y'all, we're going to get on out of here. Again, the next time that you're going to see Jeremy Chugs and I is going to be on Thursday. It's going to be a very, very interesting show. Also, make sure you pull up my dad's birthday. We're going to have some fun. And there's even a chance he might even be joining us. Not like live, but he might be joining us on a Zoom call. So we're going to have some fun with Richie. Alyssa, Mitch is right. You know what? I think that's how we should end the show. Rebel says, let's go home. He's probably going to say, let's go eat. If you bleed silver and black and you feel like that you're a part of the Raider Nation, I hope that you hit that.
Big luck. Thank you. A lot of y'all were there last night. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Chug's show went wild last night. Rebel, let's go eat. Let's go eat. I'll see you guys Thursday. Peace out. If anything crazy happens tomorrow, you already know. I got you covered.